some updates to Destin, a new vehicle, and special new skins. All this and more as we dive into the Update 19.2 patch report. First up, Destin is getting some additional cover in several areas, as well as more cell towers, ascenders, and fuel pumps. You'll also now notice the passage of time and even shifting weather patterns in your Destin games. If your match is going long and you're starting to feel hangry, look out for the newest Battlegrounds vehicle, the food truck. This sturdy vehicle holds a driver and passenger, while up to 2 others serve up hot food and even hotter lead in the back. There's also new heavy stock in the game to try out on your favorite stock-slotted weapon. You may remember us talking about an animation refresh some time back. This update, you'll start to see the fruits of those efforts with new animations for all weapon operations and player motions. Check them out and let us know what you think. For those looking to really pimp their ride, we've added new special vehicle skins to the game. Our first set will turn your run-of-the-mill Coupe RB into a sleek and sexy McLaren GT. Customized paint, rims, and even your brakes. These customizations can be crafted in the workshop or by collecting rewards from the new McLaren Crafter's Pass. But before you go betting your pink slip, while it may look like a McLaren, it still performs like a regular old coupe. There's quite a bit more to learn about these updates and more, so check out the patch notes for full details. Update 19.2 is here, so drop in, wax up that new McLaren, and serve up some chicken dinner, extra bullets. We'll see you on the Battlegrounds.
I'm gonna handle it all. Nothing you can do to stop what's coming. A one-man army. You hear the drummer drumming. I'm running through everything. My team on my back. Doing this for my people. Ain't no turning back. I'ma end it all. For the ones who ain't here. I'ma end it all. And the ending is near. When the chips is down. At the end of the day. No matter what happens. myself, I'm gonna handle it all. Nothing you can do to stop what's coming. A one-man army. You hear the drummer drumming. I'm running through everything. My team on my back. Doing this for my people. Ain't no turning back. I'ma end it all. For the ones who ain't here. I'ma end it all. And the ending is near. When the chips is down. At the end of the day. No matter what happens. That's what you say. Tell them we got it. Tell them we far from done. Tell them we got it. I'ma take everyone. Tell them we got it. Tell them we far from done. Tell them we got it. I'll take them one by one. I'll take them one by one. I'll take them one by one.
Well, as we round the corner, we can see the finish line here for PCS 7 APAC. 6 slots for PGC at the moment. About 3 of them we think may be locked up. 3 more, though, Jordan, up for grabs tonight. 5 games remaining. This is it. This is the finish line.
It is indeed, and there are a few teams that are feeling pretty comfortable going into today. As you've mentioned, 3 that we can pretty much lock in. Cerberus, Daytrade, Theraton 5, they all look like they're going to PGC, but then there's any number of teams that are still in contention. Unicorn Phoenix, who's not even here, are still kind of hanging on the result of what happens today in PCS 7 to decide whether or not they're going to get to go through. As it stands currently, Unicorn Phoenix would still make it, but there is any possibility that if Cerberus drops out of first place, they then, obviously don't go on to make it. So lots still to happen over the course of the 5 games that we do have today, and a lot of math to do on stream, Zonox, as we do have to discuss all of these PGC qualification parts.
Unfortunately, we don't have, say, live updated standings after every single kill and every single game win. What we do know, though, Jordan, are the teams that are kind of in those positions at the moment. For us to say, obviously, Cerberus, at the moment, they're first, so they'd go through as PCS 7 winner. Daytrade, then for tie points, UNP, Unicorn Phoenix, like you mentioned, would then, as it stands, go through for Vietnamese points. Then T5, SGD, and Bliss through points, holding the next 3 positions. Of course, the overview for the schedules. Well, today is the finish for APAC, and then later on, the Americas, of course, Europe and Asia will then be taking the spotlight for the next 2 weeks, and is the case for day 6. We start on Miramar, 3 matches, and then Erangel to close it all out for the final 2 games. There is something to be said about that, Jordan. But what's been a very competitive PCS 7 APAC, once again, the map differentials has played a pretty big factor.
Yeah, I think so, but I mean, I sort of almost feel like to an extent it hasn't been as much of a factor as we've seen in some of the previous seasons. At least earlier on it looked like it would be, but the one notable name, in my opinion, was Daytrade, really performing well on Miramar and not performing too well on Erangel. That actually this week seems to have sort of been brought back to a bit more of an equilibrium, and I think that's kind of why you're seeing Daytrade start to work their way up the fantasy leaderboard is one thing, but also the overall leaderboard, and they're potentially jostling with Cerberus for first place. 3 of the players on Daytrade in the top 3 this week, though, for the Fantasy League. I think that tells a bit of a story in its own right. They have had a phenomenal week. They have been the best team this week. But with that said, obviously, Cerberus at the moment is still being able to hold them off, and that's largely thanks to the performances of Tycon, who has been a really, really big pickup for them this season. And I think he's been someone that, I think we're going to be quite excited to watch in years to come.
Well, it was the big pickup as well for you and I when it came to our Fantasy League teams, Jordan. And at the moment, well, Saga's actually taken the lead away from Chunks, and you're only 4 points in front of me. The battle of the Brits, the battle of the Aussies, seemingly taking place here in the Fantasy League for the APAC casters. So go Canaxi and go Job Jab. I think Job Jab might be leading the way for me, Jordan, because we've been seeing a lot of him, and only for 23,000, good value for money. A big performer, at least in my eyes. I've obviously kind of had an eye on him this tournament. The total leaderboard, though, Cerberus, 16 points is the lead at the moment to Daytrade. All these maths, all these calculations, a lot of it relying on knowing who's going to actually win this event, especially if you're a Unicorn Phoenix fan. Daytrade, if they can get into the top spot, or Theraton 5 for that matter, only 36 points behind, it changes everything. So that's something, obviously, we're not just going to keep an eye on in terms of who's going to win this event, but for all of the ramifications that follow it.
Yeah, I think obviously right now, it's probably out of the realms of possibility, really, that Theraton 5 were to be able to walk away with a win here in PCS 7. It really does kind of feel like it's going to be the battle between Cerberus and Daytrade for that top spot, and obviously the implications of that sort of filtered down onto Unicorn Phoenix. Theraton 5, I think, in my opinion, are just a little bit too far away. Those last 2 games yesterday night didn't really come together on Miramar. They had a couple of awkward zone pulls away from them. They were sort of quite far north, and both of the zones kind of went south. So unless Theraton 5 was going to come in and pretty much win game 1 or have like a really, really high placing with a lot of kills to get them back into that discussion, I think they're probably a little bit too far away from it. But they're obviously quite happy anyway. They're pretty much locked in for PGC regardless of where they place today, what they do today. They've done enough of that work. You look a little bit further down the scoreboard, though, and that's where things do start to get interesting. For Buriram in particular, like they're not actually too far away from putting themselves up 1 or 2 placement points or 1 or 2 standing points, I guess. And in turn, that would actually do enough to kind of get them through to PGC, potentially. They're really only behind Team Bliss by 5 points on the current qualification path, but a whole lot can still change today. Obviously, Team Bliss, one that we talked about a lot last night. They finished the night with a win. You'll get to see that in a second here on the graphics. And that was a huge, huge win for Team Bliss, because without that win, they're pretty much out of the running, really. They would have had to have a phenomenal day today. And to be fair, they probably still do need to do that. But it has felt as though that last win at the end of yesterday has given them enough of a leg up to sort of bring them back into that discussion. And currently, they're doing enough. But that obviously depends a lot on what's going to happen for, in particular, maybe the Expendables. Archangel Predator, they feel like an outside shot. Really, they'd have to do something extreme today. Yeah. So lots of things that we have to be thinking about tonight. We're probably going to get some things wrong on the broadcast when we're doing all these mental gymnastics and math. But still, the TLDR is a lot of teams can actually make it through to PGC, and quite a few of them by only the barest of margins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you sort of touched on AAP, maybe forgotten about a little bit, because their week 2 has been, well, one to forget, in the bottom 5 for week 2, Jordan, after just scraping into the top 9 for week 1, which, had they been able to, I guess, sort of replicate that week 1 into week 2, they could have put themselves in a position maybe, but the truth is they basically need to make top 5, and I just don't see that happening from where they're at the moment. So, look, not going to put a line through them. You never really want to do that. It is, 60 points, though? Let's be honest. I think that would be arguably ridiculous to even think that they're going to be able to do it. So a little bit disappointing for AAP, but all those other names, all those other teams you listed, obviously so much of a chance, as we've kind of already alluded to. I think we've got 6 slots. There's about 9 or 10 teams, so can't fit them all in. Someone's going to miss out. There's going to be some heartbreak. And at the moment, as it stands, how close certain things are, like Team Bliss needing to be in the top 10, they're only 2 points away from dropping out of that, and NGE just below them. So it is just that close. Same can be said, obviously, for the Expendables, who kind of need to get into the top 8. They're only 13 points behind that. So much to sort of unravel. We do go to Miramar first, of course, and we did kind of see before the graphic regarding the teams that have played on, obviously, both maps. Cerberus, the only team that is in the top 2 for both maps. So if you're day trade, Jordan, this is where you've got to get some points. Going into then the last 2 Erangel games, I think day trade need to be just about even or in front.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think actually day trade, they look pretty good on Erangel so far this week. And yeah, I mean, I would agree with you at this point last week, but right now I'm kind of feeling like day trade are getting it done on both of the maps. It's just a little bit of a catch-up scenario going on where they didn't leave themselves too much done in week 1, and what they've done in week 2 hasn't quite caught up yet to what Cerberus has been able to do earlier on in the tournament.
It's the opposite notion, right, where it's more about actually, hey, you're great on Erangel, that's fine, but don't be 30, 40 points going into, behind 30, 40 points going into those 2 Erangel. We've got 3 games of Miramar as we head into this one now for match 26. So if they bomb out on these 3 Miramar games, then you've only got 2 Erangel games, right, to then catch back up. You're already 16 points down. So as I said, these Miramar games, I think Daytrade's going to have to find something here that they maybe haven't shown us as much throughout this tournament. We know how good Cerberus has been on both maps. They've been the best team so far. They have not relinquished that top spot, not even for a second. They've held it since game 1 to now game 26. There was a couple of scary moments last night, Jordan, where it got to 2-3 points differential, but every time they responded.
Yep, that's the big storyline, isn't it? It has been a bit of an ebb and flow for Cerberus throughout the course of this event, but they have always been on top. There has been multiple instances where teams have gotten it within 15 points, within 10 points, maybe into the single digits as we saw yesterday, but yet no one has been able to overtake them just yet. Taking a look at the playing path, it was bottom right to top left, and so if that gives you any idea how things are starting to shape up, well, you can kind of see where the teams have landed. And most teams are pretty happy. I will note again, Team Bliss yesterday night, they had a lot of rough playing paths. And actually the one that they did win was the one that they dropped in Los Leones. And the first time in, I think it was 4 games in a row that they actually got to go to their primary drop location instead of their alternate drop location. Interesting zone pool in a way, because, a lot of teams are actually outside of that initial zone. Normally you'd generally be looking for teams in Monte Nuevo, Chumacera, whatever, and maybe even teams down in Val del Mar, for example, that would be quite happy with that initial zone shift. But the reality is most teams are actually up toward the northeastern side, so they're going to have to get a bit of a wriggle on.
Well, a little bit of a roster change for the final night for the Expendables. So Ninja 2K for Smell, although I'm pretty sure Ninja actually played last night, so I'm not too sure of the validity. Unless this was the changes for this week, Jordan, that might actually make a little bit more sense. Either way, Ninja did play last night, as we see Mirage looting up now in Los Leones. Team Bliss, of course, they won the final game last night, Jordan, so they get a little bit of the spotlight here, I think, because of that. And boy, did they need that win as well. Talk about saving the best till last. A 12-kill win for Team Bliss, and it shot them right back up the standings, put them into that 10th position, which at the moment for them would be a PGC position. So they've really just got to kick on from that, and destiny is in their hands.
Yeah, a couple of really heart-stopping moments, though, for Team Bliss in that one. If you remember when Bryn and Insight was sort of pushing through that northern side of the zone, Bryn went down. There was a really, really tight scenario for Insight to get that trade flag and then get that res to bring it back to 4 players alive for Team Bliss. If he would have failed there, if he would have lost that aim duel, or, you know, maybe even a world where potentially he did win it, but didn't win it in time to get Bryn back up, that game gets a little bit more difficult to win for Team Bliss. But Insight in particular had a really, really good showing in that final game of the day. So he was obviously on that kill leader there, and a big reason why they've actually kept themselves in a reasonable spot. You know, we talked about them potentially being quite close to dropping out of the top 10, and that is true, but they're also quite close to actually overtaking the Expendables into 9th, which won't change much in terms of the PGC points, because I believe it's both 35 points for 9th and 10th. But obviously that has an impact in terms of prize money and, you know, a little bit of motivation, I suppose, or momentum, I guess, for Team Bliss and the Expendables, considering they are fighting for such a close standing. And it's not that far of a stretch, really, to overtake someone like GE, who would actually then result in quite some substantial changes to the PGC points getting paid out for either the Expendables or Team Bliss. So that's something that we're really going to have to keep an eye on. You know, I think like 7, 8, 9, 10, that kind of area is going to be a really, really important area of the standings tonight.
And GE, the team that is just below Team Bliss by 2 points at the moment, they were dead last, Jordan, in week 1. In fact, they were tied dead last with the Expendables. So a big turnaround for both of those two teams. When we look at the week 2 numbers, the Expendables are 4th for week 2, and GE 7th for week 2. So I think it kind of further compounds the fact why Team Bliss has sort of got themselves in this sort of position, around that 10th position, tied middle of the pack with everyone else. These bottom teams from week 1 have stood up in week 2, which is what you like to see. And it kind of goes with the entire consensus for this PCS 7 APAC for what has been the most competitive APAC PCS event I think we've ever seen. When you look at the bottom teams, they've all had influence in a lot of the games. The fact that you've actually somehow now got the orangutans in the bottom 3, when they were in large part around 8 and 9 for quite some time. We've seen Icarus make some plays, from the future have been involved. So and even PMA in the bottom 4, how many times have we seen PMA ruin someone's night? So the bottom 4, bottom 5 teams have been so largely influential, whereas in the past, that would generally be what I would consider, and no disrespect, feeder teams for the top teams, and that creates that large gulf between the top and the bottom. Hasn't been the case in this tournament, especially over these 2 weeks. So it's been an absolute treat, an absolute pleasure to watch this region grow, get stronger, get better, from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, I like this from Deraton 5, a little bit of an earlier rotate than what we were seeing from them last night. Felt like they sort of took their time on the rotates yesterday. They didn't really get into phase 1 until the blue was sort of just hitting the wall, and it kind of got the better of them when the circle continued to shift south and shift south and shift south, and they were sort of always trying to play catch up. This time it kind of looks like they're trying to get a little bit ahead of it. And again, a lot of teams still kind of yet to make that rotation. So there is some room for them to rock up in Monte Nuevo at the moment, where they're headed through is relatively uncontested. There's no one really here. It's going to be once they round the corner and start to sort of go along that Picado Highway, where they're going to start running into a few teams. We do have first blood drawn onto Haisaki. Duckjuice, he was knocked out by his teammate, but that's going to be a pickup for Haisaki. Unfortunately, not going to be the case, and that is a very big kill to start the day off. Yeah. If you are a Cerberus fan, if you're a Unicorn Phoenix fan, or a Day Trade fan, all 3 teams watching that with bated breath, and very, very happy to be seeing, at least in the case of Day Trade, that Cerberus have lost a player.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of Cerberus fans in chat, a lot of Vietnamese fans as well at that. They're not going to be liking that early death. It's been teetering, has it? It's been on the verge of Cerberus losing that top spot for what feels like the last 10 games or so. They just haven't had so much luck. And while one of their competitors, though, Exquisite, gets knocked down and out of the vehicle by CJ, well, AAP, obviously we touched on it. They need an absolute monster night, 60+ points essentially. It's very unlikely for it to eventuate, but if it does, this is the way to start it. Exquisite hasn't been finished off. In fact, Ranger X looks like he will go and get that revive. CJ, I mean, such is the case of Miramar, right? You can throw a couple of smokes, vehicle to block, get in the Murata and off you go. So AAP get nothing for that. You are missing a tire there, extra zip, but either way, T5 will escape with 4 alive.
Yeah, and that is actually something that's quite beneficial for them. Yesterday, we saw a lot of instances on their rotates where they were losing 1 or even more players. So it's kind of nice to see them getting through that one without a loss. Daytrade definitely going to be a team that's kind of hot in our sights. Buram as well. I like that we're getting vision of all these teams that are really jostling for those top spots. Buram in particular, they have a massive job to do tonight. It's very similar to what SGD has pretty much had to do. Both those teams came into PCS 7 without having picked up any points in PCS 6 because they didn't compete. And it sort of feels like for both SGD and Buram, a top 4 would basically be what they need to guarantee a spot through to PGC. Right now, that's being held by SGD, but it is a fairly tenuous margin. Only those 11 points for SGD, and Buram can absolutely overtake that tonight if they have a good night here.
Certainly can. I mean, there's a lot of overtaking that can happen tonight, that's for sure. In so many different areas of the leaderboard as well. You know, generally it's quite confined to the top end, top 3, or even top 5, but all the way really to the bottom. There's going to be a lot of moving and shaking. Monty takes attack. He'll just heal up. Really good 2-2 split at the moment for Team Bliss. Very aggressive as well, Jordan. Probably the most aggressive 2-2 split I've seen from them all tournament. They've got 2 players either side of Chimasera, and then you got Mirage and Monty still out west of Los Leones, very far out to the west, but still taking up a very large portion of this circle. They're obviously anticipating maybe a southern shift here. Most of the teams, though, congregating around the central part of this, except around La Bendita. There's like 4 teams at the moment around La Bendita. Daytrade, Buram, you've got NGE, MS Chonburi is not too far away from that as well, and then the Expendables in Picado. So that's a lot of real estate in this Phase 1 circle. 30 seconds until Phase 2. We'll see who's going to benefit the most from that next shift. But as is the case of Miramar, not a whole lot going on.
Not a whole lot. I mean, that is, as to be expected. Archangel Predator, well, you know, I don't even really feel like it's valuable to bring it up, the fact that they can still qualify through to PGC, but just for argument's sake, they do need about a 60-point day, something like that, probably a little bit even more. They need to finish inside the top 6, top 5 or 6 to be in with a chance, and they're a long way away from that. So you probably won't hear us talking about that too much tonight, but it is a possibility, mathematically speaking, if they were to have a massive day here today. Very big hard shift on that circle has gone back up to the northeast, and Daytrade are absolutely stoked by that because they were pretty much one of the most northeastern teams, and it looked like they were going to have to make a really tough rotation through a bunch of teams. Now, though, they don't have to do that. Ganaxi's lucky that Youngbeat has not been able to connect any of those shots, and he'll continue on his merry way. But early rotate in from Buram, and they get themselves locked up in a nice set of buildings pretty reasonably inside the circle as well. I don't think they're going to be feeling too disappointed by the proceedings thus far either.
TMA taking the outskirts of Picado. MS Chonburi, big benefactor as well for this circle shift. It's a run over. It's going to be okay. I'll get the revive. Monte Nuevo, though, not the area that you want to be here, Teraton 5, but just collecting some more vehicles for their rotation. Of course, they did get banged up on one of their rotates earlier, lost a vehicle because of it. Gloria's out in the middle of nowhere here and getting pressure too. SGD, more importantly, Shen, went absolutely wild last night here on Miramar. Big Nate just couldn't quite get the down onto Yuta, but a lot of damage. And Sophia pushed up, and he's got a good angle on this as well. This might be our first fight of the night. Nate falls well short. Yuta's doing some very good ducking and weaving at the moment. Up close, Shen, of course, he pushes out. The man just holds W. Oh, what a headshot onto Glories. Shen is feeling it again after last night. He is on form.
Yeah, had a great night last night. Picked up some really impactful kills for SGD, and he's continued that straight into today. Rossiter Dunya already starting to cop some bullets from Rain as well, one of them being a headshot, and that's going to turn Theraton 5 around. It kind of feels a little bit like last night for Theraton 5, where, you know, they look like they're getting a pretty good early game going. They're on the rotation nicely. I spoke about it a little bit earlier on, and then the zone just completely pulls away from them, and now they're kind of up the creek without a paddle. So Theraton 5 have a really rough rotate to make. It actually kind of looks like they're going north up over the top of the cliffs over toward Power Grid, but they'll run into FTF if they do decide to do that.
All right, so this was the AAP down. Originally, we didn't get to see it. Thought it may have been on the rotate, but instead they were actually going for the crate, and it has cost them that down. But in the end, actually, nothing came of it. So I think the T5, considering they've been in and amongst it early on, inside of the first 10, 12 minutes, they should be pretty happy with just the simple fact that they've got 4 players alive over towards Power Grid at the moment, or close by to it. As CJ gets knocked down, ironic, after that replay of him knocking down Exquisite. We come out of the replay, and he's now knocked down himself. But again, such is the case of Miramar. He does get easily revived. I do fear, though, 40 seconds till phase 3, Jordan. Do we get a Picardo shift here? Wouldn't that cause some absolute chaos? The Expendables inside of there at the moment. Of course, the Expendables so close to putting themselves into a PGC position. 8th place could just about do it. They're not that far off it.
Tell you what, SGD would not be too pleased if it did end up being a Picardo shift, because they were the team that actually dropped there, and they moved their way down to the couple of buildings that are on the highway, a little bit south of Picardo. It's not a bad initial rotate. You do see a lot of Picardo teams doing that when the zone is very similar to what we saw from phase 1, but in the end, they might have actually been better off just holding up in Picardo. We'll have to wait and see where that circle shift does end up going. And yeah, indeed, straight over the top of Picardo from the future up in Power Grid are still in as well, which is going to be a good spot for them to sort of get a lot of information from. But yeah, you'd be pretty mad if you were SGD right now, because they've rotated directly out of the perfect spot, and now they're going to have to go back in.
And I think we're going to be seeing quite a lot of teams look to push into Picardo, and this has actually made the initial push onto the outskirts from PMA look pretty good. They'll be able to get some free shots in on these teams pushing in. Icarus being one of them, Genius Esports being another. They'll just send it, I think, towards the Expendables. But, you know, you talk about SGD. Do they continue to hold the outskirts? What do you sort of do, right? If you're on the western side, you kind of have to just stick it into a building. Otherwise, east side, you've got at least all of that mountain range, all that terrain, a bunch of bolts. You can kind of play the terrain a hell of a lot more healthier than you can the west side. Of course, even up north, you've got the Power Grid hill as well. So from the future, T5, they can stay out there for a little bit of time. But there's that push from Icarus as well. It is a knock for the Expendables, but I don't know if that's going to be finished off. Nade over to Patrick, and that is not going to get the down, though. But SGD, once again, looking to be aggressive. It's Sophia this time instead of Shen. And this was, of course, Shen's replay. We did get to see the majority of these kills. We didn't quite see the initial push-up, but look at how patient he is in this movement. And then the quick spray. It's the second one, though, Jordan. It's this one onto Clories. Sharp.
You can barely see him.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, really, really solid stuff from Shen, and very similar to what we saw from him yesterday. He seems to be an individual that is high confidence at the moment. All the plays that he's making are working out. And of course, as a result, he's able to play with confidence and do these sort of a little bit more risky maneuvers, move away from his team, playing a little bit solo, a little bit isolated, and catching players off guard here and there. And it's been a real, real positive for SGD over the last couple of days. Cerberus down to just the 3 players, aren't holding on to one of the premium locations in the zone. They're very far south. Not too many teams rotating past them. I think Cerberus is just going to try and keep their heads down for the moment. Big spray in here from Jervis, and he is going to knock Akita out of the vehicle. That is going to be a kill onto Akita, confirmed by Sophia. So Origami Orangutans do lose one on their rotation.
Big points for SGD, looking to just hold on to that 4th place, which by and large should be enough to get them to PGC. So it's about just warding off Buriram. 14 points the gap now with those 3 kills in this game. Balmoth Norins close by to NGE. This over towards Southside Graveyard. Sophia again. It's just SGD cam at the moment. Either Sophia or Shen. Generally, someone of them is shooting and moving. But speaking of moving, they do have to get moving this time around, Jordan. 10 seconds till phase 4. They'll group back up. They do have that warehouse out to the west of Picardo. Next circle coming in now. Where does it go? Do we get a Picardo finish here on Miramar game 1 of the night? No. Oh. Right on top of MS Chomburi. Buriram as well in the bowl. Pretty happy with this. Day trade. Big benefactors as well out towards the northeastern side. There's not a whole lot of room for teams to sort of wrap on them. They can really control the northern edge of this terrain. And all these teams in Picardo now are going to have to start making their way out.
If you're Theraton 5, you are just absolutely fuming at the circles on Miramar over the last couple of days. This is once again a circle that has gone as far away from them as it possibly could have. They've just had to send it through Picardo. And of course that's not worked. They run into Youngby. They were already getting tagged from the teams in Picardo. And Theraton 5, I mean, they are just getting absolutely rinsed on this rotation. It has not been good at all. But such is the nature of the beast. Ranger X eats the grenade from Youngby, who I think might be on for his second kill of this game already. Looking for Patton Bong as well.
Oh, that's a disaster for Territon 5, especially in the quest of maybe being an outright winner here for PCS. And, well, I'll tell you this, Jordan. This is how close things are. At the current standing, Team Bliss are out of a PGC slot. That's how close things are at the moment. And we'll keep up with it as it all sort of unfolds. There's a lot going on in the kill feed. Phase 4, this circle shift has caused absolute chaos in this lobby at the moment. Tycon, good spray. That's the kill confirmed by his teammate in Hemas. The only teammate he's got left. Cerberus down to 2. The rotate in this circle hasn't helped them out either. It's an absolute cluster of a phase here, phase 4. Minute and a half until phase 5. Himas is knocked down. Cerberus are on the verge of being eliminated.
Yeah, Shen does get knocked as well. That's an important one to think about. Himas converted 2. It's another kill on the board for Daytrade. That's a massive net positive for them. They are still 15 points behind, but they're catching up slowly but surely. Jervis, nice knock there on the Trick. From the Future are having real troubles against SGD at the moment. SGD do need to win this fight pretty quick, though. If they want to get that res onto Shen, Blue is starting to push at their back. Team Bliss will be happy with how the rotations have worked out. Circle Shift has been good for them, but they will be very, very unhappy to be seeing Buriram in such a solid position as well. Nice nades. Couple of kills there for Insight. And Team Bliss, they jumped themselves up into 9th. So from 11th to 9th, they've gone in the blink of an eye, Xenox. And that, once again, gets them back into PGC contention. And I'm sure this is something that we're going to be going over and reiterating time and time again tonight.
I think Leo might just about be dead here. He is holding on for dear life and needs to keep his team alive. He's the only one left with Sophia being taken down. 5 kills at least claimed for SGD. But it's looking like placement points won't be on the cards for them here. The question is, can he at least get maybe one more before he bows out? The answer to that, no. He falls. SGD gone in 14th possession. The Orangutans fall as well. And phase 4 has claimed quite a few teams, Jordan. 12 teams left. There might be a couple more to follow as well. Bliss might be in a little bit of trouble down to the south. Couple knocked down. PMA just get wiped out mostly by MS Chonburi. And I think we've just seen From the Future gone as well. 11 teams remaining. No, FTF actually have 1 player left. Oh, never mind. I just had to wait another 5 seconds. There goes, man. There goes From the Future. 10 teams remaining. And we've got 5 seconds to go until the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, Daytrade have also just copped a massive feed. They are pushing their way forward. And at the moment, Xenox, they control almost 50% of this zone, which is really unreasonable when you consider it. It's only phase 5. Like, this is not a phase 8 zone or something like that. Just look at that that line that they've pretty much drawn all across Miramar. They have the high ground. They are watching all the teams come out of Picardo, try to get into this sort of cliffy area, and raining shots down upon them. So this has worked out perfectly for Daytrade. Not only is Cerberus really struggling, they may even miss out on placement points, by the way, but Daytrade is picking up a lot of frags, and they're in a position to go on to win this game.
Would count out Tycon to at least maybe try and go for a rank tank. Diane gets knocked out of the vehicle by Flash. Daytrade are just farming the lobby at the moment with the circle shifts. They will be able to collect a lot more than just the 4 kills they got at the moment. Expect that to basically double probably within about 5 minutes. Headshot. Sit down. There's 6 kills now for Daytrade. The circle shift gold have blessed them so kindly in this opening game of the night, and they will not let that go unpunished for everyone else. They will just clean it from here. I think this might be a very difficult game for anyone else to win besides Daytrade at the moment. They are in the pole position.
Most certainly they are, but Tycon has a really big job to do. He's sitting inside of the middle of the zone. I think he's in a hut, just trying to rank tank at the moment, and at least if he can secure, another couple of placement points, he's already gotten 1. They're in the top 8, Cerberus. Team Bliss are picking up some very important frags, but they also do need to be a bit careful. If they drop a player or 2, you've still got MSC behind them, which is going to cause a real problem, but they're aware of that. Obviously, the nade connecting, you can see on the kill feed. GE go out now, so we're into the top 7. Daytrade are just unstoppable at the moment, though, aren't they? The Expendables, they're going to try to hole up on the side of the cliff and pretty much just use the elevation and the terrain as a means of protection against Daytrade, which is about as good as they can do for the moment.
Oh, there's a big push down towards the southwest now. Icarus will clean up the majority of it. Jobjab did find a kill amongst the ruins of MS Chonburi. They do bow out.
I don't know how Insight is still alive. I've seen him get knocked like 3 or 4 times this game. He's getting picked back up again. If you ever see Inside in that kill feed on the receiving end, you better be hoping that he's got a teammate standing right next to him because he's going to be bleeding very fast indeed. Icarus here, 4-man push onto Team Bliss. They've already got the initial knock onto Mirage.
I think this might be a disaster for Team Bliss here, and they're getting shot at as well from a distance by Daytrade. Belmoth with that knock as Icarus through FP pushed over the little ridge, getting another kill to go their way. They've got 8. Icarus are just pulling themselves off the bottom of the standings, rising very slowly, now up to 99 points, 9 kills from this game. They'll get a big chunk of placement points as well from last to 14th very quickly. And it's what I was saying in the pre-show discussion, Jordan. These bottom teams can influence these games in a massive way. We're seeing it once again, but it's surely Daytrade's game to lose from here. It might be their top spot to lose from here.
Yeah, Buriram, though, are quietly still holding on with 4 players. The Expendables are as well, and they're drawing a lot of that attention away from Daytrade at the moment, which is relieving a bit of the pressure on Buriram. It's really just Belmoth that's kind of watching that southern side of the zone. Daytrade have really pushed out to the north here to try to force the Expendables away, to maybe force them into a wrap behind Icarus rather than in the direction of Daytrade. It's a sight to behold, actually, at the moment. Daytrade are really controlling this zone well, and they're doing so without any sort of semblance of a loss. One thing that I think is kind of interesting to mention as well is that gap between 10th and 11th has not changed at all this game. It was 2 points between Team Bliss and NGE. It remains 2 points after this game. And the Expendables, if they were to drop out pretty soon right now, maybe their gap would also only be 2 points, which would again mean that 9, 10, and 11 has not changed pretty much off of game 1.
Well, that benefits Bliss more than the Expendables. The Expendables needed to get into the top 8. They do still have 2 players alive in this game, but they are under immense pressure. Ninja 2K behind that vehicle. Tycon has ended up getting some placement points for Surferus. Good. They said don't count him out, and he's pretty much lived up to that billing. Levi's, you can't just sit prone there here on Miramar. Who Chills will collect. Well, actually, he won't collect that. JN steals it for Icarus. They go to 11 kills now this game. And surely, odds on to get into the top 4 as well. Ninja 2K, not long for this world. Nuren should finish him off. He does so. Quick little tap will do it. 9 kills for Daytrade. 9 points behind Cerberus.
Why, eh? Just eating that grenade from Nordra, who has been very impressive across the board for Buriram. Gonna need to do a little bit more. Edie down on the floor. Icarus Cyber, they are finally eliminated. But 11 kills in that game has jumped them quite substantially up off the bottom of the scoreboard. This, though, from Tycon, could be a really impactful frag. If he can even maybe find a way to just get Belmoth down and open the door up for Buriram, that will save some points for Cerberus in the long term. He's got Nurens. He's got Nurens, and Belmoth are struggling.
What a
Tycon
turnaround.
is a machine at the moment.
Well, look at Noran's position here on the map. No one remotely close in being able to go for a revive, and this might just allow Buriram to go for that wrap on the eastern side, push up the hill, closer to Belmoth. This is a big moment here for Cheeksking and Canaxi. Belmoth has to ward them off. He has to be aware of this, otherwise it might be the end of Daytrade. What? They do get rid of Tycon inside of the smoke, but he needs to watch the left side. Oh, Edie, what a spray from Belmoth from that distance! Absolutely insane! And now he knows. Well, I don't know. Actually, doesn't he know? I think Canaxi and Cheeksking haven't given away their position just yet.
Now, am I going absolutely crazy, or can Daytrade take first place off this game if they win? Plus 4 kills, well, plus 3 from here,
they will.
And then the placement points.
4.
If they win, they will take
3
the lead.
3+ lead. If as long as Buriram don't deny here and they get all of the kills, they'll get 7 more points. They will take top spot. And since match 1 to match 26, it's been Cerberus. With 4 matches to go, it may now be Daytrade. And Buriram, I don't think there's a world where they will want to just die to the blue here. Canaxi gets spotted. Belmoth is just going insane at the moment to clutch up this game for Daytrade. Big sprays earlier.
Another headshot
as well. And Buriram just cannot push up this hill.
When does he stop, man? He's going to go for another. He really doesn't need any teammates by the looks of it. Everyone else from Daytrade is on a big wrap. It's just Belmoth on the top of the hill right now that is standing tall, doing his best Gandalf impression, telling Buriram they shall not pass. And he's taking them down one by one. Eventually, he feels it's getting a little bit too hot, backs off, and Nordra opens the door up. Daytrade, I mean, they've lost control of the high ground. Now Buriram have that. What? Can they get the res on Canaxi? That could bring it back to 3-on-3, and Daytrade now on the low ground.
What's happened?
they have zone control. That's, I think, part of the reason Daytrade have worked their way down the hill here. They have pretty much got all of their members in the center of the zone, where Buriram are still playing edge. So there is that height advantage, yes, but once this zone starts to shift, you'd have to probably back Daytrade still.
It's like an Uno reverse card has just been played. They've now swapped positions. Buriram wanting to push up the hill to fight Daytrade. Daytrade wanting to push down the hill for position for Phase 8 and onwards. The good news for Buriram, though, is at least they're inside of the Phase 7 circle. So a bit of time, they've got a vehicle, they get the revive in a clear 3 versus 3. As we go into that Phase 8 circle, we'll see whether or not they have to go for a long move or not. They get the circle shift. So this high ground actually is going to stay in for a little bit longer. Not only that, but Norrens is not inside of the circle. So he has to move from whatever safe position he may be in at the moment. This might be a massive backfire for Daytrade.
Yeah, do they know that Puchils, though, is quite close on that cliff? His position is going to be really, really important if inevitably, and at some point that will happen, Buriram has to come off the top of this hill. He's kind of the point man. You've got Flash and Nurans to pot a couple of shots in as Buriram goes over the top of the tip. But Puchils will be the one that kind of stands and delivers and stops them in their tracks if he plays this right. And at that, you know, it's not going to happen in Phase 8 here. It'll happen in Phase 9 once the circle does start to shrink. But even then, again, Daytrade do still possess the better zone positioning in that respect. Time of the essence, really, for Buriram. I think they need to get something done before they start getting pushed by the zone. But once that happens, it starts to fall back in the favor of Daytrade.
I will say this, Jordan. There is an interesting dilemma here in that Buriram actually want Daytrade to probably win this tournament. If they do that, it knocks out Unicorn Phoenix. So it's kind of a win-win situation at the moment for Buriram in that they can either get points. If they lose this, they give points to Daytrade anyway. There is no world in which they die to the blue. If they die to the blue and do it on purpose, they've severely miscalculated their intentions for tonight. So this is a win-win for Buriram. It's a win-lose for Daytrade in terms of obviously winning PCS 7. We'll see how it plays out. Smoke's being thrown from Norrens, of course, still needing to make the run across to get into the circle. And for me, that's the big factor. If he makes it in, I'm back on Team Daytrade. But if he gets caught and he dies here, then I'm probably Buriram. But a big kill from Puchils. Gets rid of Cheating. He's got Nordra just in front of him, but he's trying to run back down the hill. They push over at the right time. 1-for-1 trade, but it does allow Norrens to push forward. He takes that time very quickly. Nordra trying to shoot through the smoke. Can't get the down. So he groups up with Flash.
Not Puchils, of course, but Cheeksing, I think it might just get picked up here. I can't quite tell from the angle, but I think the zone isn't quite pushing at the back. Cheeksing's back up now. Grenades coming out across. Molotovs as well. And Buriram know exactly where Daytrade is, sitting behind this hut. That doesn't make the job all that much easier, though. If they run out of util, they're just going to have to send it. They're going inside of the vehicle. Nordron and Canaxi. And that is it. Buriram will win. They deny Daytrade first place. Yet again, Cerberus will hold on. And Buriram have got a big, big win on the board. Exactly what they needed to start the day. Holy cow.
Wow. What a turnaround from Buriram United. It felt like it was Daytrade's game to lose, and they lost it. Massive, massive moment here for our final night of PCS 7 APAC to start the night, of course. What a way to start it off. A 13-kill second place, though, for Daytrade. Massive, Jordan. It's great, but it still doesn't get them into that first place. Cerberus still holding on to that top spot. Well, it gets them close, but as we always say, when it gets to single digits, Cerberus go big in the next game. It's happened 4 times in a row. Okay. We'll see if it happens 5 times.
But get this. This is the closest it has been going into a game. The gap is now 4.
It's been a 3-point gap before.
Not going into a game.
Yeah, it has.
Has it?
It has.
Maybe I'm trolling. Either way, man, 4 points the deficit for Daytrade. It's really not a whole lot. Cerberus, you know, you sort of saw that game like falling apart a little bit for them. They lost Haisaki really, really early on in the piece. They couldn't really get too much done. Tycon, you have to give him a bit of a shout out, actually, to be able to get as many placement points as he did. He even picked, I think, a couple of kill points up on the way out as well. And actually, that's largely why Cerberus have still maintained that top spot, because the extra, maybe 2, 3, 4 points that he's actually got there right on the back end has kept them just treading water above Daytrade. Another big miss, though, for Theraton 5. And if we were talking about their chances of winning PCS 7 being out the window a little bit going into the night, then that certainly is going to further reinforce that fact.
pretty much gone. 40 points, 4 games, and the top 2, we imagine, will keep up their sort of tally throughout the night. I don't imagine that they'll just drop dead and get 0 points for the rest of the night. So I think that's probably T5 gone in terms of PCS 7 winner, but in terms of PGC, they're basically in, so they're not going to be too displeased. It's been a good tournament from them. Do we want to say day trade through that game? Yes or no?
I don't know that I would say it was like a hard throw necessarily. Like I could kind of see
Like
what
a
they
little
were
soft
going
throw?
for. If Belmoth is able to survive, you know, like I think if he's able to get the initial knock and just back his way down the hill, it's a bit of a difference maker, but it certainly should have been day trades to win, right? They had the 4-on-3, they had the positioning, they really had command of that circle. So in a way, yes, they sort of gave Buriram a little bit too much room to work with. I'll make the argument, but you know, very, very good stuff from Buriram. I don't want to take that away from them. So.
No, certainly not. I think Buriram definitely made the right plays that they could make, being down below, wanting to push the eastern side, try and get a little bit of that height advantage, especially when day trade was obviously finishing off the expendables. Question for me was pushing down the right play from day trade. Yeah. In the end, hindsight says maybe not, and hindsight says maybe they needed to defend the hill instead. It doesn't cost them too big. 19 points from that game, only 7 from Cerberus. Obviously continues to close the gap at top. For Buriram United though, Jordan, big result. Now only 10 points behind T5, and guess what? They're actually into 4th place. They have a tiebreaker with SGD. So as that sort of plays out, you do obviously kind of go back to the race for PGC and what all of that looks like. What it means is 4th place for Buriram makes life a little bit difficult for others and a lot easier for them.
Yeah, Nordra, very, very solid performance across this season, actually. I mean, he has always been one of the players in the Buriram roster that I think has kind of led from the front in terms of the damage and fragging department, and that hasn't really changed, even though we haven't seen Buriram for a little while, right? They didn't play in PCS 6, but he doesn't seem like he's kind of missed a beat. He's come into PCS 7, done really well for himself. 1,200 damage there. Quite a significant number. 3 kills, maybe not so much, but end of the day, enough done by Buriram in that first game to actually take 4th spot away from SGD. Obviously, they're equal on total points.
Well, it knocks them out of the PGC slot at the moment. So I'm unfortunately doing my own little sort of live standings by myself here to just try and keep things as updated as I possibly can. With Cerberus holding on to that top spot, and with Buriram now jumping up into 4th, as you can see, they've got the tiebreaker. It means SGD are knocked out. They're on 95 points. Buriram go to 120. Obviously, Bliss still on 100, are being the gatekeepers there at the moment from SGD. So that's kind of where we stand with 4 games to go. A lot more action, of course. We are by no means close to done. So much water to still go under the bridge. A lot more to play out. Obviously, for Buriram, though, now in this 4th position with 4 games to go, fate well and truly in their hands. They just have to hold on to this spot and they will go to PGC.
What is going on there? KMF. He set himself up quasi green screen. Xenox. He wants to be on the caster desk. I think.
Thought it was just hanging his washing or something.
Hanging the washing up. Yeah. Either way, I mean, PMA, they're in 13th place, but I'll actually say they've been a pretty interesting team to watch. Like, they've been pretty fun, and they've been a real thorn in the side of a bunch of other teams. Team that, yeah, obviously is going to be getting a lot of highlights tonight is Team Bliss. They didn't have a terrible game 1. Wasn't an amazing game 1 either, but, you know, you kind of look at the teams that are sort of situated around them on that scoreboard, and none of the teams really in that area kind of performed massively in the last game, which has kind of largely left things unchanged. The job for those teams sitting in 9th, 10th, and 11th are still more or less the same. We're about to head into our second game of Miramar tonight. 2 out of 3 is what we've got. And I'll tell you what, Xenox, a bit of a sneak peek, but this plane path is a bit of a killer for the teams out toward the western side of the map. They've got a very, very long stretch.
Sneak peek, let's go and have a look here for match 27 here on the final day of PCS 7 APAC. We are into it, and it is very, very far out towards the eastern side, and it goes all the way up to Campo Militar.
Yeah.
So very much bending even in towards that eastern coastline. So El Pozo, Monte Nuevo, La Cob, anything around there, and it's a long, long distance.
With the plane path like this, we're going out to the islands.
I haven't seen the islands for a couple of years now, Jordan.
It's been a long time.
I'm due for a good island finish.
There was the PCS finish on the island, though. Wasn't that the very last game of, like, PCS 5? Something like that? Surely you remember.
Mate, I couldn't remember what happened last week, to be completely honest with you, but I'm very much excited for this game, though. So much still to sort of unravel. In some ways, besides obviously the Buram SGD swap, not much else has really changed. And even with that swap, it's only temporary, right? They're tied on points, literally tied. The top spot, 4-point gap. Expendables, only 11 points behind the 8th spot that they need to get to. Team Bliss holding on to their spot by 2 points. There are so many different storylines that we still have to unravel. 4 games to go. We're not really going to get the final answer until the final game. That's the beauty of it here for this event of PCS APAC. And we do go to the eastern side, Jordan. So that plane path, while it wasn't nice, the circle does make up for it.
Yeah, but look at how busy it is around Los Leones. You've got 2 teams in Los Leones, which is fine. That is a point of interest that can hold up a couple of teams. No problems at all. But Day Trade's kind of around there as well. From the Future, Archangel, Predator. Those 3 teams have all decided, look, we can't get to our standard drop location. We're going to have to go for a bit of an alt drop and just work through sort of the buildings that are around Los Leones. You do often see that from teams when the plane path is a bit awkward for them. A lot of little compounds and stuff around the south end of Los Leones that they can loot up in. But it is going to mean that the rotators coming up from the south are actually going to have a bit of a busier area of the map to deal with. So if you're one of the teams maybe in Los Leones or Cerberus who are kind of in La Bendita or whatever, you might want to be thinking about moving a little bit earlier, or even if you are moving at the, your standard rotation time, just being a little bit more aware that there's going to be quite a congestion of teams rotating around you. And even for Delta Mix and Mad Dog, they need to be very careful because they can quite easily run into one another. I mean, surely you've seen these teams on the drop. You see the parachutes. They're aware that Nan is here by the looks of things. Teddy throwing a bit of util in, and Delta Mix is having a look, but Mad Dog's hanging around.
Oh, I mean, Nan gets one, but yeah, I want to make it finished off, though, by Mad Dog here. And Delta Mix needs to get behind that tree as soon as possible. Does so. Good tag as well from Teddy. And actually, Trick comes to save the day with the truck as well. Throw out the smoke, and I think that they're going to get away with this by getting that kill onto Nan and getting the revive onto Delta Mix, who is now firmly safe behind the tree, behind the truck, inside of the smoke. Mad Dog with the SKS is not going to get that kill. At most, he can just be a little bit annoying. They should be able to confirm this. They do have to be a little bit more precarious and take him into the building just to be well and truly sure of the fact. But from the Future, who are last at the moment after Icarus had their monster game in the previous game, Jordan, 11 kills, 4th place for Icarus, does mean FTF are last. They're only 6 points behind the Orangutans and 10 points behind Icarus themselves. It's very, very close towards the bottom. If, FTF go and have a big game here, they can jump up a couple of places as well. And Shen, of course, running around. Now, he had this kill on Simon last time. Simon this time survives, and Shen has to now just run back with his tail between his legs.
Yeah, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, I think is the mantra that Simon has got there. He'd be well aware of what kind of shenanigans Shen has been getting up to, and we saw that exact push, as you said, yesterday. Simon is not going to fall for the same trick twice, which is pretty good news for GE. And I don't know that we'll see Shen trying that again. Once it's been found out, it's unlikely to work anymore. Evil Patrick. Oh, no, there's a couple of good shots coming through already from Trick, and he's going to have him locked down for the moment. Man on the flank, finding the angle, and Archangel Predator, they are more or less being picked apart right now by From the Future. Mad Dog sort of feels like the last saving grace, holding very close by, but 3 players to deal with pretty much in his near vicinity isn't going to make his job very easy at all.
Somewhat summarizes really the event for Archangel Predator as well. Obviously looking to qualify for PGC, one of just a couple of teams that played in both PCS 6 and PCS 7, but just not putting themselves in a position to qualify. Good knockdown from Mad Dog, at least onto Tede. Throws that nade way too far. Trick trying to push up, has a Molotov in hand. And the kill feed, Diane actually with a knock onto Insight, and will get the kill. So that actually happening, Jordan, over in Impala. So a little bit of an odd position to generally see Team Bliss in. We'll keep on more on that later, but as Mad Dog, I think, is going to go down shortly here, because CJ not even close, not going to be able to help out. FTF have the numbers. They got the manpower to finish off Mad Dog, who finally pushes out, and he goes straight back in. But man, to finish the chop, never mind. Good spray from Mad Dog. He's played this really well, but he just doesn't get any reward for it. 2 knocks, but in the end, nothing. And CJ's too far away to have an impact. Here is that fight in Impala. Insight is gone. Kill for NGE, and they might just get a second. Monty crossing the road, doesn't do his lefts and right. And that is good night for Bliss and for Monty. Bliss down to 2 players, and NGE are about to knock them out of a PGC slot once again.
Yep, when we're in primary school here in Australia, they tell us to look left when we're crossing the road, then look right, then look left again, and then cross. And unfortunately, does not seem to have gone into Monty's skull. And this time, just some bullets land there instead. Not a good start to the game for Team Bliss. It's much, much harder to get it done with, 1 or 2 players rather than the 4. And that is a really scary prospect as well, considering the fact that it's NGE picking up the points, and that's the team that's kind of knocking on the door. They're going to chase Brim down as well. This is the second time in as many nights that Team Bliss have just been chased in a vehicle. And Mirage, he is done. It's 16th place for Team Bliss. Woo! A horrible result for their chances at PGC, because, yes, it's bad to be going out in 16th place, but it's even worse when it's at the hands of NGE that is going to be the team that will be able to overtake them and drop them down into 11th. And I mean, there's even further to fall for Team Bliss if things go right for PMA, or if Icarus does what they did again. That's really bad news. Team Bliss, they are in trouble.
As it stands right now, knocked out of that PGC slot, it actually now pushes SGD back into that slot, Jordan. So in the current live standings, both Buriram and SGD would be going through if it were to remain as is. That's how it's all sort of lining up at the moment. But, well, of course, there's a lot more to go, but that is a disaster for Bliss. Fortunately for them, still 3 more games to go tonight to sort of rebound, get themselves back in it. But they'll be sort of sitting there, I guess, sweating on the fact that now Expendables, NGE, Genius, all those teams slightly above them could continue to accumulate some points here and make that gap really something scary to think about having to catch up in the next couple of games. As we go over to Buriram at Junkyard, of course, somewhat of a benefactor with Team Bliss losing out. Really, it actually reduces some of the stress on Buriram and SGD in their battle for PGC.
I just love the fact that we've got so many different teams kind of vying for PGC slots, and it's all over the scoreboard as well. Like, it's down even to 10th and 11th place that are going to be factored in, but you look at Buriram and SGD, and they're both dead even on 193 points, and, there is definitely a world where actually only one of them makes it, and it'll be the team that secures that 4th place spot. So both of those 2 teams, even though right now they're quote-unquote making it, they're going to be wanting to do as much as possible to secure as many points as possible to pretty much lock themselves into PGC if they can. They can't be relying on the mathematical formulas and what this team does or that team does to make the difference for them. They have their own destiny in their own hands, and both teams at the moment, they kind of look like they're trying to take that destiny and run with it, right? Buriram had a great start to today. SGD as well. They were not too shabby in game 1.
The other part of the equation too, big win for NGE in terms of the position for this circle. North side of Impala, they've got E-Arena around this position too, but I think it's a pretty decent spot. Not too many more teams going to be coming in. There is From the Future pushing on the very, very southern side of this circle. They're coming in quite late though. 40 seconds to go until phase 2. I will say, it's not often we see an entire team wipe inside the first 9 minutes on a Miramar game, Jordan. Worst case, usually it's maybe 3 or 2 get taken down, and then there's a 1 or 2 sort of rank tank, but the whole squad wipe is a disaster. And Ninja 2K on the rock has a couple of members of PMA who don't mind an early scrap themselves. Mr. Clay Teddy leading in front at the moment, but there's KMF from behind, and this might be the target for Ninja 2K. The spray is perfect. Easy down, easy kill. It's a big kill point for the Expendables, Jordan, because it pushes them closer to getting into their PGC slot. It just doesn't end.
Indeed, it is indeed going to be a never-ending kind of a scenario.
Oh, Teddy
has just sprayed Ninja out of the vehicle as well. I mean, look, an eye for an eye, I suppose, is fair. In the meanwhile, Circle Shift has gone right over the top of Cerberus, Buriram. Both of those 2 teams pretty much in the center. And well, there's going to be a lot of shenanigans going on now, because that circle is looking pretty full already for anyone coming down from the north or in from the west or up from the south. There's not that much room, not that much territory to take up residence in. Impala maybe from the future, and for day trade potentially is a rotation path, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It's really, really tight. Lots of teams already having moved in.
And NGE with the prime position as well in what is already becoming a rather congested circle for phase 2. Ninja X, they're a top 5, Jordan. They had their disaster game really in the last game, similar to what has happened to Team Bliss this game. So T5, they're in that position now of responding, right? 40 points behind that top spot. I think for them, it's just a matter of can they hold on to the top 3? What's going on here? AT gets it down into Haisaki. Cerberus, these are the games that they generally respond, Jordan. When the going gets tough, they stand up. But Haisaki is down for the count. He goes down again early. It's horrible for Cerberus. It's massive for Day Trade.
It is. It's not good. It's not good, but it's not the end of the world for Cerberus. I mean, if they can keep 3 up later on into the game, they can still get a lot of work done. And it's not as if they need to go on to win this one. They just have to keep their heads floating above water. Tycon, he has been such an instrumental member of the success of this roster. Can he do it again for the team in game 2 of the evening? Buriram United, they're looking for as many points as they can get. But I think they're going to be just sort of inside the eye of the storm at the moment. Not too many teams really pushing in their direction. They have a 2-2 split, though, I'll say, which is not a bad shout at the moment. If they can keep that 2-2 split intact, not lose one of the duos, it's gonna really benefit them later on down the track, particularly if this goes a little more southern. Canaxi and Edie can just work their way down from the northern split.
I think I just saw on the minimap that they're actually leaving the junkyard position. It is quite north, so I guess they're not anticipating that split. Obviously, there is a lot of unplayable terrain here on Miramar, so if they've done the calculations, Jordan, going to a bit more of an open spot, they may feel that Cheeksing and Nordra is in a better position for the circle and the way that it is going to be shifting for Phase 3 onwards. So they're making that call rather early, Buriram, as Day Trade through Norans over towards the very southern side of the circle. A lot more open fields towards this southern side. So if it actually does come down towards the southwest, you do want to be one of the teams here early, because if you're coming in late and it's open fields and there's no room, it's not going to be a good finish. Where there's probably, when you look at, say, the more eastern side, there's actually still a lot of buildings, a lot of compounds, a lot of places you can hide and send it into if you are coming in late for Phase 3, Phase 4. As Canaxi finds a little garage, they do make the move actually really far down to the south. So they actually keep the 2-2 split, Jordan, but they move it from the north side to the south side.
Still keeping a bit of a keen eye on Theratom 5. It's been a really rough run for them on Miramar, and if this circle goes south again, they are just going to be absolutely filthy. It has not been good at all. GE, they're already starting to make their move, so they're actually going to have that first mover advantage, and that is a killer zone shift for anyone out west.
That's a beautiful, beautiful rotate from Buriram. Whoever made that call, Edie and Canaxi have put themselves in the absolute best position. Nordra, Cheeksing, they'll get on the move now. We can see on our screens, and they'll just join them. So Buriram are going to have the bullseye position for this circle, Phase 3, and honestly, I think even from Phase 4 onwards, so a big rotate for Buriram does pay off. Here's that crash from Icarus where they got the kill onto Haisaki, who was by himself. The other 3 members were already further up.
He was trying to get out.
He was
just too late.
Inches away. And then the run over as well that happened just after that by Y8. It's not often you get traded by your own teammate, but yeah, how close was Haisaki, Jordan? That was inches away. If he makes it past the building edge, he makes it up the hill. Leo goes down to CJ. That's a death for SGD.
He's in trouble.
Might be more to come. Oh, that drop shot from CJ doesn't quite pay off. A couple of shots to the kneecap of Jervis, but he survives. Half health. Shen wants a little bit more blood as he sees Icarus rotating past them. It's all happening here for Phase 3.
Yeah, Day Trade really getting a bit of a wriggle on at the moment. They have come from pretty much as far as you could away from this zone to now getting relatively close to the center. They may just want to set up shop on the cliffs around the middle part of the zone because there aren't any compounds really to go for at this point. What are we having a look at here? Oh, this is right at the end of the last game. Oh. The send from Buriram onto Day Trade. I was actually kind of impressed at how quickly they actually edited here. Really nice spray from Canaxi at range, and I think Cheeksing might have got the shots through on the other side of the hut.
Yeah, we got to obviously see a little bit more from the point of view of Day Trade. So that was the Canaxi POV. Sophia kill onto Skeet. SGD have retaken the 4th place position. Hello, Teddy. He spots a couple of sharks in front of him. Oh, no! He had him lined
Not
up.
happy with that.
You can see the frustration from Teddy in the shots. It doesn't pay off for him, and now they turn around, but here comes SGD. It's almost like a 3-way battle now, though. Sophia and Jervis both knocked. It's only Shen. It's fallen apart, though, for MSC. Teddy got sweet revenge. When the camera wasn't watching Jordan, he got 2 kills.
Well, they're hearing all of these shots, Cerberus, and they are most certainly having a look. They have not elected to push over just yet. Jervis getting picked up. That Molotov's not going to go deep enough to cause a problem, but I think Sophia is done and actually goes down to the zone. So Duck might just misses out on that kill. Not ideal for Cerberus. Could have been an extra point on the board. But they've increased the gap from 4 to 5 this game so far. And they really want to clear out this side of the zone. They know that there's going to be a lot of fighting happening over here. And if they can get some more kill points and help themselves by clearing the zone out, maybe they can set themselves up for later on down the track. Where, though, does the circle shift back up to the north? Origami Orangutans, they look like a big benefactor of that. Holding down the compound out toward the eastern side of the zone. GE as well toward the west. Day Trade. They're going to have a lot to do. They're actually going to have a lot of teams rotating up past them or to them.
Yeah, good position for the orangutans as well, because you can kind of push out behind that building, get a bit of high ground for the late game as well towards the latter phases. So you sit tight for now, wait till phase 5, phase 6, and then you can kind of push out. You got a little bit of high ground advantage with those cliffs. The only downside might be the fact that I think T5 already
Cerberus is going right at Day Trade.
Sending it in their position. Cerberus, well, obviously, remembering they've only got 3 players, Jordan, so they're not fully equipped, and they might take a bit more damage on the way in. I think they're going to have to take a pit stop here. Otherwise, well, I can see on the minimap, Himax is just continuing on with Tycon.
This is so
Nurins cooks the nade. They drop down right below him, but he throws it to the left side. They've already moved over a little bit more. They might just push up, and look how aggressive they are. Day Trade surely win this. They do. Poo chills, and then it's Norins. What an aggressive play from Cerberus, and it backfires. What are they doing?
Well, they're in a rock and a hard place, though, Xenox. There's not really too many options for them. If you look at the way that the circle is shaped up, Cerberus, they had to do something, and they've chosen wrong this time. They've gone straight into Day Trade. They are probably, I'm going to say probably, going to be knocked out of first place. They're not quite yet, but it's 3 points the deficit. Day Trade still have 4 alive. They've got a few teams rotating in their direction, but you'd back Day Trade to pick up another 3 points in this game.
Questionable plays from Cerberus. There was more that they could do than that. I think they just went for the ego play, tried to just push on Day Trade. Day Trade maybe could have been caught napping, but they weren't. They were well and truly prepared. They switched on. 2 kills, 2 free kills, and maybe more to come. And as I said, yeah, they're not in that top spot at the moment, but they've got 4 players alive. They've got a good spot in the circle. Surely can win a couple more fights and get into the placement points. And I think that might be the streak of Cerberus in the top spot coming to an end. From match 1 to match 27, Day Trade surely will be getting into that #1 position.
Well, we'll hold our breath for the moment. It hasn't been confirmed just yet. Flash is looking to find another kill. Nurans too. Day Trade are certainly not shying away from any fights, and it's reminiscent of their games yesterday. They're a team that's really high on confidence at the moment. They've been having a very good week, better than anyone else. Nurans and Belmoth might actually get caught off guard here.
Oh my God, no way.
Has stepped up, and can he throw a bit of a lifeline to Cerberus, who've fallen off the boat?
What is going on, Jordan? I'm losing the plot here.
Maybe Icarus can shut Day Trade off right after. And it's going to be sink or swim for both those 2 teams. And in this case, maybe it's going to be sink for both Day Trade and Cerberus. Poochels! He misses a big spray.
Position
and Icarus keep themselves alive.
They know where he is now, though, of course. Icarus continue to push out. NGE, big knock on to FP. Poochels uses his teammate for a bit of cover, and Belmoth does get eliminated.
There it is.
There goes Icarus. More kills for Day Trade, but they might not be staying alive for much longer. 3 kills, it's only Flash. They're 1 point behind the top spot, Jordan.
246 points. If they get knocked out right here, they will not claim first place. Not just yet. They have slowly but surely been closing the gap, but Flash is hanging on for dear life. PMA have come in for a bit of a wrap. GE is also having a look. How on earth is Flash still alive? I don't know. But NGE and PMA have found one another, and the nade over the top is so good. Here's Flash, watching, waiting for that one big crucial kill, but he doesn't fire.
Should very much reiterate for anyone watching that's just tuned in, no, this is not the final game. And there is that point. Do they have the tiebreaker? I don't see the leaderboard moving, so my first assumption will be no to said tiebreaker, but Flash does get that extra kill. They are on 247 points. Since match 1 to match 27, Cerberus have been in the #1 spot. And there's still a chance that it may continue if Flash dies before getting to the placement points. He's very, very close. he also could just get a kill or two, and that will do it. And if PMA run into his sightlines, they're already in his sightlines. He steals it. There it is. The streak is over. It comes to an end. Cerberus are in second place. Daytrade take top spot with 3 games to go. He may not survive much longer. Don't go to a replay. He's fighting another couple of players. Van at the rock. He gets him low. He gets the kill. Forget the replay, guys. What's going on?
Well, Daytrade is out. That's what I can tell you. But Flash has done enough to get them into first place. 3 critical kills as a solo. And Cerberus now have a job to do. It's the first time since game 1 when we were on 0 points, basically, that they haven't been in first place. They have been holding the lead for the entirety of PCS 7, but Daytrade have come up with the goods this week and today. And now we turn our attention toward Buriram, the Expendables, NGE. Those are the important teams. If Buriram could overtake Teraton 5, then the sky's the limit for them, and that pretty much starts to lock them in with a spot at PGC. But NGE and the Expendables as well, you have to think about the more points they can put on the board right now, separates them from Team Bliss, starts to secure a spot at PGC for the likes of the Expendables. Yuta goes down at the hands of 777. That'll be another kill in the back pocket. Edie from Buriram is working through against From the Future as well.
Well, I think it has actually put Bliss back into that PGC slot, by the way. We'll touch on that at the break once we get through this game. Buriram, of course, going to have a lot more to say about it. Same with Teraton 5. Look at that circle shift. Here come the orangutans. They've been kind of sliding down very slowly the leaderboard, Jordan, but this might be the game for them to sort of rise back up. And we might be in a position where we could actually have all 16 teams in the triple digits with a couple of games to go. It doesn't always happen. There goes Genius Esports, wiped out by and large by the Expendables. And this is pretty big for them as well, because with NGE's sudden rise, suddenly Team Bliss have gone back out of that position. And I think the Expendables are now in that position. So NGE throwing a massive spanner in the works here on the final day. Van gets the kill onto Tede. They are cleaning house, 11 kills. It all started with their wiping of Team Bliss, and they've carried on. What a big moment here for Team Bliss. Fans, look away. The gap is now 12 points.
Yeah, what a mess this has been. Teraton 5, they're still kind of clinging on for dear life. Miramar hasn't been kind to them, but it's looking a little bit better in this one. Buriram wrapping through the southern side of the map. They want to take that fight to NGE. Here is Teraton 5 making a rotate of their own up north. Popping a few shots from Origami Orangutans, who continue to hole up inside of the compound. I think Teraton 5 might have gone a step too far. Rossiter Jr., he's taken out on that rotate. They didn't make it to the defilade that they wanted. Well, not as 3. And that's going to hamper their chances of winning this round. They've got 2 still alive, and they're still able to get some points off the back of that. Buriram's going to have to start thinking about pushing their way up the hill into the zone. And they have to be very aware of this duo of Neil T and Diane that's hanging around.
Yeah, and it's
this cross is not a good timing. If they peek around this hut, that's a great angle for NGE.
Really bad position here for Buriram in a sense, but they do have the numbers, and if they do push into this fight, I think it helps them out as long as they don't sit still. And I think they're actually now going to end up winning this fight because they're pushing closer towards the hut. They're pushing back 3 members of NGE, so Buriram playing this very, very well. 6 kills at the moment. If you wipe them out, they can go to 9 kills, and it pushes them closer to T5. 777 with a big nade onto Pat and Pong. Exquisite's close by. Smokes are out, slowly dissipating, but look at Duckchoose leading from the front here for the Expendables. They just want more and more. There was that wipe there for Buriram, largely thanks to Nordra and Edie getting the 3 kills onto NGE, and it looks like that revive's not going to come through. Pat and Pong gets left alone by Exquisite, understanding he's under a lot of pressure here. He has to go big. He got one. One's not going to be enough. They'll get the revive. The Expendables, it's further nightmare scenario for Team Bliss. They're 2 competitors, 7 kills, 11 kills, and into the top 4, Jordan. It couldn't be worse for the team in pink.
You start to wonder if Buriram can go back-to-back here as well. I mean, Origami Orangutans, they have had this position for almost the entire game. They haven't got any kills out of it just yet, but racking up the placement points now, though, they're going to have to take that fight, and it'll be to Buriram, it'll be to the Expendables. That's a horror zone shift, though, for Buriram. It really could not have gone worse. If they go north, they go around, and they force themselves into a fight against the Expendables. If they go through Origami Orangutans. Obviously, that's not going to work out very well because the Expendables will have an angle on it, and they're running into a 4-on-4. So I don't know how Buriram can really dig themselves out of trouble here, short of just a couple of miracle individual plays. They're going to have to hit some 6 shots to make this one work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they can't get over this road.
The Orangutans have not really pushed out here. They've not been aggressive at all. They've just held tight. 0 kills at the moment. And at some point, then they're going to have to push out. And that is going to be when the Expendables and Buriram start to clash. So as long as they're aware of that, they are actually taking a few tags as well over towards the Expendables. But they have to push out at some point when these two teams fight. They don't have to push out right away. You don't want to be the meat in the sandwich. You don't want to push out too quickly, and then suddenly both the Expendables and Buriram start fighting in. But look at this, 3 into the vehicle. Canaxi stays behind. Good spray from Levi's. This is the perfect situation here for the Expendables, but they don't get it down. They needed at least 1. Now Buriram have got 3 across the road, basically 3v3 at close. Then you've got Canaxi further back. But this is where the Orangutans, Jordan, they have to push out. They have to third party this.
I agree. It's only Akita at the moment that's doing that. I think Rain has started to come across on the bike as well, starting to take some positioning. This is looking much better for Origami Orangutans. I mean, the Expendables are now in an awful spot. They're the meat in the sandwich, but the zone pushing at the back, so Buriram is going to be a problem for them as well. This is perfect for Origami Orangutans. Rain's getting damaged down. Duck Juice has got himself a knock onto Cheeksing. And in all this, meanwhile, the Expendables are receiving shots in the backside from Origami Orangutans, who are looking for more points. Akita now starting to put some of that pressure back onto Buriram. It's all fair in love and war. And Origami Orangutans, they're spreading that love all around.
Oh, big damage onto Edie that he didn't need to take. He just got caught in the blue
Riff's
for a
got
split
an
second. Nordra low. Levi's up close. Headshot. Double down here as well from 777. Buriram just getting lit to pieces. Akita just trying to steal a couple where he can. The arm from Rip lands onto Levi's. There's a chance that the Orangutans might find another victory here, Jordan. I think it might just happen for them. 777, Duck Chews. The duo now left for the Expendables, but it's job done from them anyway. The down, courtesy of Kang. They will finish this off with a big win.
He's going into the zone.
He's just going to deny points.
Why are you denying points from Origami Orangutans of all teams? I don't know, but
who cares?
Look, there it is.
The Orangutans take the win. They take their 2nd win here for PCS 7 APAC. 1 last week, 1 this week. And as I've been saying all broadcast long, Jordan, these teams at the bottom, they influence games so massively. And it's not just the Orangutans. What a game from the Expendables. What a game from NGE.
Honestly,
what a night.
That was so close to being a 0-kill win for the Origami Orangutans, which would have been hilarious. They got 1. I think they got 1.
That's going to be the record for PCS.
I don't know. I don't actually know. But in APAC, yeah, probably it is. Hey, either way, a win's a win. You'll take it. Origami Orangutans, they've got 2 for the season so far. So you don't see that too often from the 2nd Oceanic seed. Indeed. Yeah, I mean, I think, though, the thing is, like, it's almost ended with a bit of an anticlimax because for the grand scheme of things, Origami Orangutans getting that win is not really going to impact, you know, their chances of going through to PCS. It does help them out a little bit to go up the standings and get maybe some more prize money, etc. But when it comes to it, obviously, the Expendables, I can hear you. Okay, apparently Xenox is live to me, but he's not live to the stream, so I just sound like I've been talking to myself for the last 5 minutes, which is fine. End of the day, though, obviously, Xenox, things have not looked so fantastic for Origami Orangutans, but that's a nice little bump up for them. I think the fact that they've been able to put 2 wins together this season is, you know, not a bad shout for a team that really doesn't have a lot of experience at this level. But what I'm trying to get at is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, we're looking at the Expendables. We're looking at Buriram. Those 2 teams getting through really, really deep into the latter stages of that game to make a big difference on the overall PGC race. And for both those teams, a phenomenal one. Yeah, I can still hear you. Apparently, you're still not live, so it's all right. Hopefully, we can get that sorted out in the break. Maybe Xenox, while you're, you know, doing your thing, you can do some quick maths and update me with where we're sitting for the overall scoreboard, because I do just wonder whether or not that's going to be not quite the death sentence for Team Bliss per se, but it is going to potentially drop them out of the 6 teams that will go through to PGC. 17 points for the Expendables, 15 for Buriram, and 14 for NGE. Those are actually pretty much the 3 teams that Team Bliss in particular would not have wanted to see getting any points really on the board, especially when they've gotten 0. The only other team that you might lump into that group would be SGD. If it was those 4, then, I mean, that's curtains almost for Team Bliss. But look, Kang saves the day with the 1 kill. That was the 1 kill that we did get to see the Origami Orangutans converting in that game. 100% kill proportion, 150 damage. He's done really well for himself there. Love to see that. Player of the match. Probably the best player of the match graphic you are going to see. Actually, if I was Kang, I'd be screenshotting that one and putting that on Twitter, because that's a huge game, in my opinion. That said, the big talking point, of course, is going to be the total leaderboard, and it's 249 points for Day Trade. The first time that we have seen Cerberus dropping out of first place this season. It's a big moment, because this could actually be what we see at the end of the season. There's only 3 games to go. And obviously for Cerberus, when you're talking about that, then that's not good news. When you're talking about it in the case of Unicorn Phoenix as well, really, really not good news. They're going to be hoping that we do see Unicorn Phoenix, Cerberus back into first place. But Xenox, I think you're back. I know you're not on the screen. Everyone gets to look at me instead, which is fantastic. But yep.
I haven't actually had... Oh, I'm back now myself. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, I haven't actually had the time to sort of actually dissect the leaderboard yet, Jordan, because there's actually been so many different changes that have happened in just that one game that it probably will take
too much to do.
A bit of that time during the break. So what we'll do is we'll go to a break, and when we do come back, hopefully we'll know a little bit more as to where all the teams sit. 3 more games remaining, 1 more on Miramar. Don't go too far. We'll be back shortly.
Some updates to Destin, a new vehicle, and special new skins. All this and more as we dive into the Update 19.2 patch report. First up, Destin is getting some additional cover in several areas, as well as more cell towers, ascenders, and fuel pumps. You'll also now notice the passage of time and even shifting weather patterns in your Destin games. If your match is going long and you're starting to feel hangry, look out for the newest Battlegrounds vehicle, the food truck. This sturdy vehicle holds a driver and passenger, while up to 2 others serve up hot food and even hotter lead in the back. There's also new heavy stock in the game to try out on your favorite stock-slotted weapon. You may remember us talking about an animation refresh some time back. This update, you'll start to see the fruits of those efforts with new animations for all weapon operations and player motions. Check them out and let us know what you think. For those looking to really pimp their ride, we've added new special vehicle skins to the game. Our first set will turn your run-of-the-mill Coupe RB into a sleek and sexy McLaren GT. Customized paint, rims, and even your brakes. These customizations can be crafted in the workshop or by collecting rewards from the new McLaren Crafters Pass. But before you go betting your pink slip, while it may look like a McLaren, it still performs like a regular old coupe. There's quite a bit more to learn about these updates and more, so check out the patch notes for full details. Update 19.2 is here. So drop in, wax up that new McLaren, and serve up some chicken dinner. Extra bullets. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Back against the wall, I'm the last to fall. Even by myself, I'm gonna handle it all. Nothing you can do to stop what's coming. A one-man army. You hear the drummer drumming. I'm running through everything. My team on my back. This for my people, this for my people. Ain't no turning back. I'ma end it all. For the ones who ain't here. I'ma end it all. And the ending is near. When the chips is down, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, that's what you say. Tell them we got it, tell them we far from done.
So much to continue unfolding, unraveling here as we make our way towards the finish line for PCS 7 APAC. 2 games down, 3 games to go, Jordan, to close things out. So much has already transpired and changed and taken place over these first 2 games. Day Trade in the #1 position, though. That's the big factor for me. For 27 matches straight, it was Cerberus. Finally now, we have a new leader in the #1 spot.
Indeed, and it is again Day Trade who's sitting at the top of the table with a few games to go. Their position at this point during PCS 6 was not quite as tenuous as it is now. They were miles in front. We would have called it probably at the start of week 2 for Day Trade last season, but this time it's been a bit more of a grind for them. They've overtaken Cerberus now, and they may well actually end up being back-to-back winners in PCS APAC. Not many teams have been able to do that. Buriram is one of them, and they've actually got their way up into the top 3 too. So lots to really think about after that game. A lot of teams sort of jumping quite dramatically up the scoreboard or down the scoreboard in some cases.
Yeah, a lot. Pretty much from the bottom, middle, top, everyone having some moving and shaking, and it's well and truly playing around with those PGC slots. You know, do apologize for sort of harping on about it, but I mean, it's PGC. That's what all these teams are fighting for. And so in some ways, obviously, we're keeping an eye on that battle for first. 2 points separating Cerberus and Day Trade. And then you've got the battle for the slots. That's the secondary, obviously, mathematics that we're going to be looking at as the night continues to progress. For SGD, Jordan, somehow they've actually dropped down into 5th place now, 13 points behind T5. So a quiet week 2 after a week 1 that had them in 2nd place. At the end of week 1, they've now dropped to 5th. Now, they are still holding on to a spot. The wonderful Patrick has been updating us on Twitter, Jordan, with these wonderful graphics. They're holding on. 95 points at the moment is good for them. The Expendables, though, they've got to that magic 8th spot that we mentioned at the start of the night that they had to get top 8. Well, they're in that 8th position at the moment, 5 points clear of Genius Esports. That puts them on 100 PGC points. That puts them into a position. And obviously, Buriram now up into 3rd place, tied with T5, 145 points. They're in there as well. So it's all changing basically after every game. Long way to go, 3 games to go. But for teams like Buriram, Jordan, for teams like even the Expendables now, it's all about just sort of maintaining what you've got.
Indeed, but a lot can change still with 3 games to go. So let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Of course, we've got to think about moving over to Erangel as well after this Miramar game. This will be the very last Miramar game of the night, and there are, I'm sure, a couple of teams that are quite eager to get back onto Erangel. Theraton 5 will absolutely be one of them. Unfortunately, it sort of feels like they've dropped out of the race for a top spot, but they could still have some implications if they're able to retake 3rd away from Buriram. It starts to get a little bit more interesting there. Whatever. We'll get into that discussion when we get there. For now, let's just enjoy Miramar and see what we have on offer for us. Not a particularly crazy playing path. This one a little bit more northern on the map than anything else, but most teams should be able to get to where they need to. Lost the owners. It'll end up being a bit of a stretch for Team Bliss, and I think it's From the Future that like to drop there with them, if I remember correctly. So they look like they're going to go up to the north, Team Bliss. And NGE, the last team out the plane, heading south in the direction of Impala.
So final game of Miramar for PCS 7 APAC. Final chance for teams that have been performing better here on Miramar compared to Erangel. And maybe also then light at the end of the tunnel for teams, Jordan, that have maybe been waiting for Erangel to come back in to finish off strong for PCS 7 APAC as our kill steals top 5 through the first 27 matches. Yeah, we don't generally get this graphic as we do get our Phase 1 circle on top of Al-Azhar, on top of Team Bliss, Buriram, and Day Trade. But yeah, Day Trade, 30 steals for them. Buriram, Cerberus, T5, and then Icarus in 5th. Staggering how you got 4 teams, Jordan, that are all at the top, and then Icarus.
Yeah, well, Icarus is one of those teams that does actually frag pretty hard when they're having their games. So, I mean, I guess it is surprising in that sense, but I'm overall, on board with it. It doesn't feel like it's something that's super unreasonable. It is very important to be looking at those kinds of stats, though, and when you think about it, that could be the difference between Cerberus having first and not having first.
Yeah.
It's only a 2-point gap right now, so those extra steals that Day Trade are getting through making a really big difference. 777 with 7 kills. Couldn't have written a better storyline myself, but very big game from him and the Expendables in the last, and they're really still gunning for that PGC slot. They've done a lot of work so far today. Job's not yet done. Still a bit more to go.
How often do we not see a winning, a member of the winning team in that graphic shot? It doesn't happen often.
No.
Obviously, the orangutans with the 1 kill win. You know, which in fairness...
Team Bliss have lost a player, by the way.
Which in fairness, by the way, for that is... oh, yeah, geez, that's rough. That's not good. You know, it's not their fault necessarily. Sometimes it's just the way it sort of plays out. They wanted to play a little bit safer. They got the circle shifts. It is what it, you know, how it goes. As Mirage, though, does get it down onto Balmoth, they did lose a
It'll
player.
be a finish too.
So they've lost insight. They'll get one back the other way. So 1 for 1, but you lose a player. It's not really what you want when you're in the position that Bliss find themselves in, Jordan, where, you know, they came into tonight needing to maintain. Now it's catch up with 3 games to go, including this.
This is pretty cheeky from E Arena. You got Lyrics coming across on the hill there with KM99 just holding on top of the building. Shots coming in from Zizzy, maybe just to try and provide a bit of a distraction, draw out 1 or 2 of those players for Lyrics and KM99. Didn't quite catch what scope Lyrics had there. Didn't look like a great one. KM99's got a 4x at least. This doesn't really strike me as the kind of fight that either of these teams want to get stuck in, because they're on the complete opposite side of the zone as where we're going to be headed. They've got a long rotation to make, and if you get caught up in a fight here for a good couple of minutes, and, you know, to be honest, this is a fight that could actually end up taking a lot longer than that, just by nature of how this compound is set up, you're really wasting some precious time. And Icarus have kind of called it and said, yeah, look, AT, you're on your own. Try and buy as much time as you can, but you're probably a dead man. Unless they've made a little bit more of an aggressive call and actually decided to try to isolate Zizzy, who, I mean, he's all over it. He's aware of that. He's going to go down the hill, but this could end up working out very poorly for both teams.
FP hops out, J-End as well. KM99 trying to breach this building now as well. Zapnix with the shotgun in hand. AT has the shotgun too, so everyone's prepared for the close quarter combat here. Pushing up the stairs is clean for Zapnix because the Molotov clears the sort of top landing position, so he can actually push up the stairs. That's going to help out E-Arena, and it's a 1 for 1, but obviously when there's 2
got to turn
to
around.
the 1 though, E-Arena in a better position. They'll get the revival to Zapnix. Zizzy down below the hill. If Y8 just pushes over here, he may go down. JN gets tagged. I think they've just got to leave Jordan. They've lost the 1.
I think it's okay.
Obviously he's gone. You've got 3 up here. You've got your vehicle. Get in, get going.
Yeah, but this is actually where you might be able to see Zizzy get one on the fadeaway if Icarus are a little too slow on the draw to exit. He doesn't feel ballsy enough to go over the top. He's still not too sure what's happening behind that smoke. So in the end, Icarus will get away with 3 by the looks of things. In a way, I'm kind of happy to see that that fight has pretty much been resolved already.
Well, it's a big kill there for SGD. And then they lose 1 as well. I mean, we've seen this for a couple of teams now. We saw it with Bliss and Daytrade, and obviously there with E-Arena and Icarus, and now with SGD and Genius Esports. Shen finds it down onto Glorious as well. Genius down to just 1. That 1 might be none here shortly. Yuta doesn't just go into the sightlines of Jervis, hops over the wall. And this is a big moment for a couple of teams, one being Bliss, NGE, all just below Genius. It's also massive for the Expendables too, Jordan, because one of the teams directly below them, you know, they go out, less pressure on the Expendables.
That is right indeed, Jervis. He can't see too much, so just pops off a couple of shots, but Yuta is well on his way out of there. He's spotted by Shen, who's just so sharp at the moment. 3 kills in that engagement. Look, they do lose 1, SGD, but you put 4 points on the board. I guess it's a nice positive start to the game. Still a bit of a gap between them and Theraton 5, who is actually now, funnily enough, who they're chasing rather than Buriram. But if you do see SGD and Buriram both in the top 4, then they're pretty much both secured to go through to PGC. It was kind of like make top 4 for those 2, and you get a spot. And there's a chance that actually does end up happening. Theraton 5, we'll see if their woes are going to continue.
Of course it was Shen. And of course it was, oh jeez, without even a scope. M16 Iron Sight headshot. Oh no, not like this. Surely not. He doesn't hit these. Oh,
Oh, no
There's
way.
No way! What did I just watch?
Someone check him PC because that is not normally.
Hang on, what? And this was, of course, Balmoth getting shot in the back of the bike by Mirage.
That's a pretty crispy shot too, actually.
That's a nice little...
That was an Ironside SLR.
That's a nice camera angle. Well, just trying to get over the kill from Shen. In fairness, Jordan, if there's one player in this lobby I'd pick to do that, it's Shen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He's been on point today. And that's actually kind of half the reason SGD decides to turn around and go back into that fight. Oh, dear. By the way, we'll see what Shen can do again. Can he get himself into the kill feed one more time? PMA, they're on the rotate pass. Here's the spray. He's hit a couple.
Now we're watching, though, right? So now he
Leo's here, too.
He can't hit the shots. What is going on? Nance just pulled up right in front of Rossiter Jr. It's the freest kill you'll ever get, and he misses the initial spray. Spots Evil Patrick rampaging on over as well. I mean, he technically wasn't directly in front of him. He didn't have the best of sightlines, but could have probably had a bit more trigger discipline. Leo's got no discipline. He just shoots and he just hits. Goodbye, PMA. 8 kills, Jordan, in 8 minutes for SGD.
This is a mess of a game. SGD, they're thinking, hang on, we actually need to get a bit of a wriggle on here. We're only on sub 200 points. We've got 209 to catch, and they're on their way to doing that. We'll talk about that in a minute, though, because Evil Patrick, he's dropping to Rossiter Jr. NGE are also having a look. Pat on Pong. He'll get knocked, but he'll go safely behind a defilade for now. NGE, they want to push off the back of it. Exquisite, though. He's the point man, or maybe the rear guard, really, for Theraton 5. And he has stalled that push in its tracks. He's going to continue to push up the hill. This is a ballsy play from Exquisite. If he loses that duel, he is a dead man. Theraton 5, they're hanging on by a thread at the moment. They've still got one more NGE player to find. Youngbeat is down by the warehouse.
Oh, does he know where he is, though? I think he actually just gave away his position. He's low on health, does avoid the nade. Ranger X, though, did see him make the cross. So he is probably going to die here, barring an absolute miracle. Ranger X would have to royally stuff this up. Underarm nade apparently did absolutely no damage at all. Extras in the high ground does get Neil T. And Ranger X says, boys, I know where the last one is. Or do you? Yes, he does. NGE or NG gone. No points for them. 9th and 10th, both eliminated. Massive for the Expendables, Jordan, because they will hold on to 8th unless Team Bliss gets 17 points this game. And they've only got the 3 players. So that's now then 2 games to go for the Expendables. They edge closer to their PGC dream. And it's big for Team Bliss because those directly above them are going to get nothing from this game.
Archangel Predator, they're back for revenge. They've got the knock onto Rossiter Jr. I was going to say, I don't know how Theraton 5 have actually gotten through that with still 3 players up. They're going to lose Rossiter Jr. Mad Dog will send his regards on the way out. So just a little bit too much of an engagement for Theraton 5. They had to fight on both fronts, really. They had to deal with NGE behind them, Archangel Predator in front of them. And even though they started both those fights well, it's just a little bit too much bitten off. And they can't chew it all and finish it off. Nordra, he's rocked up right next to Origami Orangutans on this rotation. It seems like Buriram is in tow. But they're both going to let each other go by the wayside. It's Sheepsing that's putting a bit of pressure down onto Team Bliss. I mean, this is going to have to be a big game from Team Bliss, isn't it? They've got the 3 players, sure. They've lost a player already. But they do have a good central position inside of this zone. They have to take advantage of it and get something of note to start to try to catch up to NGE and GE.
Even if it's 7 or 8 points, Jordan, right? I mean, that just puts you back into the single digits. You can do that then in one game with 2 games to go. It's better for the peace of mind. If they get nothing from this game besides the 1 kill, it's going to be mentally devastating. So keep an eye on that one. The Expendables, though, actually the pressure valve has released a bit. With GE and NGE both going out, they're going to hold that 8th position, a PGC position for them. And so they can actually maybe, with the pressure off a little bit, just go a little bit ham, run around, see if he can find some kills and extend that lead and really put the pressure on everyone else.
Well, it's so tight, isn't it? It has been a while since we've really been having these kinds of conversations, I feel like, about close finishes to PCS 7.
And for what it's worth, this is big for Buriram and SGD. If the Expendables hold on to top 8 and then Bliss somehow get back into the top 10, 5th place will not make it. And at the moment, that's SGD. And 6 kills, it could be Buriram. Who knows? Ninja 2K with a good down onto Rip. Orangutans are going to lose one here, but they've got a couple of members on the other side of the road in the warehouse. Akita and Kang. Rain more so inside of Al-Azhar. But well played at the moment by the Expendables tonight. They have come to play, that is for sure.
MSC are rocking up right in between Cerberus. This is a huge crossfire to go through. Himas is out in the field. He's ready and waiting for them. They've set up so nicely. MSC are going to go up, above, over the top, but they're going to lose players on the way. And that is another couple of points in the back pocket of Cerberus. This time, I was going to say they're not going to lose a player, but I spoke too soon. I held my words. Haisaki goes down, so...
3 games in a row, Jordan.
3 games in a row, yeah. He's gone.
Oh,
but...
And
MSC
stolen.
might be done.
Yeah, point stolen though. So this is absolutely not that good for Cerberus. For a brief second, it actually kind of looked amazing on the kill feed. All those downs, everything was great. But now you've lost Haisaki. Himas is knocked down. You do get the kill onto Skeet. They're back into the first place position. But really, in the long run, Jordan, isn't going to be that great for them. They're heavily wounded under so much pressure. And now goes Duckmai. They might be out here with just 2 kills.
Yeah, not good news at all. Cerberus, their chances of taking first place in PCS 7 starting to slip away from them once again. It's going to come down to Tycon to try to clutch up. There are smokes to work with. Lots of taps coming through from Theraton 5 and from Buriram. But maybe Cerberus have just done enough to keep themselves alive. Never mind. Himas cops a headshot. So it is just Duckmai and Tycon to carry the torch.
Well, 2's better than
Theraton
none.
5 are on the way. They're on the way.
They are.
They want to take those buildings. These were the buildings that Cerberus was holding. Before.
You do back in Tycon a little bit, and he's at least got sort of his Robin to the Batman of
2v2.
Tycon. Well, 2v2, but they've also got
2v1.
Cheating and Kanaxi shooting from a distance. 2v1 might just about be 2v none. Duckmai low, getting tagged, getting lit up from both sides. He's gone. Cerberus are gone. They have got top spot back, Jordan, but maybe not for much longer. Daytrade only have the 3 players, so it might not be a massive game from them either. Huge for Buriram. They're into 3rd place. PGC is
Buriram,
beckoning for them.
They're having a massive day today, aren't they? And they are just once again reminding us why they were a feared force within the APAC region. For a good year and a half, they really dominated the competition. It didn't look like anyone was going to get close to them. Maybe the exception being, obviously, Fury at the time. But in hindsight, it really was Buriram on their own pedestal.
Yeah.
They missed out on PCS 6, and coming into PCS 7, you would have said it's going to be a really tough job to get it through to PGC, but they want to be APAC representatives back-to-back. They were there last year. They actually didn't have a great time at PGC last year, but maybe with the form they're showing here in PCS 7, they can run it back and have a little bit of a better one.
Minute and 12 seconds until phase 4. A little bit of an eye of the storm moment. 11 teams remain, 34 alive. A heavily wounded lobby. So much so that there's only 3 teams, Jordan, with 4 alive from the future. The Expendables and Buriram. 1 from all 3 categories of top, middle, and bottom of our current standings. AAP, it hasn't been their tournament. They're done. They're not making PGC for the Philippines team. So I guess for their fans, it's not a matter of nail-biting like so many others. They unfortunately know the ugly truth that they're not going to go to PGC. But Daytrade, a quiet game. They have relinquished top spot momentarily, but only takes 1 kill or 1 placement point to regain it. They've got 3 players. You would think that they should be able to get at least 1 point or more. But look at 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Jordan. 8 kills, 6 kills, 8 kills. For the respective teams, it is a battle going on with those 3. And they are actually kind of catching up to the top 2 in some ways.
Yeah, it is indeed. I don't know that they're doing enough to quite catch up to the top 2, but look, with 2 games to go, I'm not going to say it's impossible. Circle Shift is going to be a big one, and that's gone hard north, which is phenomenal news if your team lives.
Well, they have to have all 3 grouped up. Monty's got to get moving back to Bryn and Mirage. Even if you're not sure left side, right side, which one's better, I think you want to go for the safer option, and that's going to be Bryn Mirage's position, where you've got that massive, massive cliff behind them. Kind of makes it hard to push onto that building. Could make it hard to push out later, but you want to go for safe for now. Just get through the next 5-10 minutes. Ranger X and X-Grizet still alive for T5. 6 kills this game, but their direct competitors surrounding either side of them on the leaderboard have just had a slightly better game thus far.
Just keeping an eye on it, and it looks like Monty is still kind of hedging his bets on the left side of the road, the western side of the road. So it is still that 2-1 split, but it's not as big of a 2-1 split as what we saw before. The fact that you've got From the Future and Theraton 5 kind of chucking shots at one another up on top of this side of the cliff does probably mean that it is unlikely, at least for now, that anyone's going to be breaching Team Bliss from the east. So Brynn and Mirage are feeling, I guess, relatively comfortable with the setup that they've got there, but if a team does lock down this position, that's where it starts to become a bit more problematic.
Well, it also means Daytrade have backfilled the position that Monty was previously occupying. So they've taken that spot, and they will be hoping for the eastern shift, for the western shift to eventuate. Southside Buriram holding the compounds to the south, and I guess they'll be in some ways guarding the teams looking to push out of Al-Azhar, that being the Expendables, Orangutans, SGD. And then really the next bit of action is where we're at right now with T5, E-Arena, and From the Future out towards the eastern side. So phase 4 may not give us the full action, but phase 5 certainly will, as teams are sort of preparing for that now. E-Arena looking to make some kind of run here. Obviously, they have to push into this circle. They have to push into T5. That nade's going to split the middle. It's not going to land. And now they've lost 2 players. Theraton 5, yeah, with the 2 players are absolutely rinsing E-Arena at the moment. And it's forcing Lyrics to run back towards the blue.
Excuse me. It is just the 1 player left up for E-Arena, but that's a good nade from Exquisite. Ranger X and Exquisite are putting in the hard yards for Theraton 5 at the moment. I mean, they've got a lot of kills between them. Trick from the Future is going to be a little bit more of a problematic task, though, than E-Arena. You can see From the Future starting to sort of sweep their way through, but no one is getting past Exquisite at the moment. Oh, he very nearly takes another head off of there of Teddy. I don't know if I'd be peeking Theraton 5 at the moment. They are out for blood. And they also kind of want to hold on to a top 3 place, but not going to be too super easy with Buriram still having 4 alive. I'm also just quietly kind of keeping my eyes on the Expendables, who have 3. They're in Al-Azhar. They haven't yet really come out of it. If they do, they're going to come out into Icarus, who have definitely shown a couple of pop-off moments today. So it's not going to be an easy task for the Expendables. Circle has shifted south this time. Very hard to read. Back up north, down south. Can't really bank on anything.
Well, it hasn't played out there for Bliss, and their backfill position, of course, now occupied by Daytrade, so they can't just go back to what they once had. Made the gamble.
Monty's not in the worst spot.
Hasn't worked out for them. Shan finding the down to Cheeksy. Larix, though, steals the kill away, so that's a point less there for SGD. From the Future, though, they're in a bit of a mess here. Of course, they pushed up to that duo, the dynamic duo of Exquisite and Ranger X, doing such a tremendous job. And so much so, Tade trying to reverse out, maybe look to get out of this, and he can't. He's dead. He's gone. More points going for Theraton 5, and I think they should just be able to clean up From the Future entirely. FTF have just fed some easy points for T5. Wow. Lyrics coming back for revenge after his team got wiped out by these 2. Can he get a down? He got a headshot, but it forces Exquisite to respond, and he loses out. Their time might be coming to an end, Jordan. It was a great run, but Lyrics does get that sweet, sweet revenge for E-Arena. T5, though, 11 kills in 20 minutes. Not bad.
Yeah, you're going to take that, I think, if you're Theraton 5, particularly given how that game started. Somehow, Archangel Predator are still hanging on, and maybe they're going to have a crack at Lyrics as well. It's not exactly the place to be. Still a lot of moving to be done when that zone starts to push. Buriram starting to sweep through the southern side of the zone. Getting close to the placement points, and the Expendables keeping themselves alive, looking for that. Every point matters right now for them.
Big game, though, from T5. Those are the kind of games that will get you into PGC. You think back to in the next 2 games or so, that could be the difference. The Wardrop, Buriram. I think they'll get this top 3 spot back, though. 2 players alive, and I think they got a couple of players in their scopes. Obviously, one of those being Akita down below. CJ gets rid of Lyrics. He was the solo for E-Arena. Kill for AAP, 3 now in this game, and it's, well, in some ways, when does Akita die? Not if. Unless he spotted them.
Has he? He's not doing this. Oh, now he has.
I think he has, yeah. He definitely has
definitely
now.
has now. Archangel Predator are on the move. I cannot imagine this is going to end well. I think it's more a question of who they're going to feed the points to. It looks like it could be SGD. Jervis waiting for them round the corner. Mad Dog still wins the duel. Jervis, I don't think, got his gun out in time, and there wasn't really anyone to help him out. Shen was just over the rise. So Archangel Predator have actually got themselves in the zone, and it shrinks on top of them.
Oh.
Hang on a minute. Archangel Predator, they might even be able to get a few more points here.
Forgetting about them for just a split second, you've got teams, Jordan, full squads, and all of them are not inside of this circle. Bliss, Day Trade, Icarus, Expendables, Buriram, and the 2 remaining players as well for the Orangutans. None of them inside of the circle. Really, the only players, teams inside of this current circle, as you sort of mentioned, for AAP, you got the duo there, Shen, the solo. So it's the wounded teams that sort of have position at the moment. It means this phase 6 is going to be crazy. Trying to get into this circle. Pretty open kind of terrain as well. Day Trade just on the edge. I mean, these compounds, they're not in. Jordan, you can't stay here. You're going to have to push up to the cliffs, play the ridges, play the terrain as best as possible. Shen's going to play the bush.
Bush Bandit. He doesn't want to stay there for too long, though. He's seeing the drop come in and wondering if maybe that's going to draw a bit of attention in his direction.
Oh,
this is a big move for the Expendables. Yeah, indeed, Shen goes down. If the Expendables can get out of El Azahar alive, then they stand to gain a lot. I mean, they might even be able to take 7th place or 8th or 6th place. They're really only 6 points behind E-Arena. In which case, then it starts to feel a little more unassailable for Team Bliss. They're obviously out of the running at the moment, but...
Well, this is the thing, is it doesn't actually really affect Team Bliss too much at all, where the Expendables go, Jordan. If 5th place is going to be on 95 points, then it doesn't really matter. There goes Rain. 12 kills now for Buriram, continuing to add up. And I tell you what, they're only 29 points behind top spot with 2 games to go after this. That's certainly in the territory I would call achievable. Bliss, though, Jordan, this is where you've got to get points, and they should. 2 kills for them, 3 kills in total now.
Nordra's hanging around. He's really having a bit of a look, isn't he? He's got a nade in hand, tosses that one across. Monty in the sightlines of it. It's going to bounce over his head.
No way.
That was way too close for comfort for Team Bliss.
Oh, JN though.
JN's got a big knock. That's huge.
Yeah, that's pretty bad here for Day Trade. Remember, they've got 0 kills this game, so entirely their points from placement. Mirage, though, creeping up towards Nordra, who I think wants to fall back to his other 2 teammates. Of course, they don't have Cheeksing, so they don't have 4 in fact. No team has 4 players alive. Oh, the timing for JN. He had utility in his hand. Flash pushed him at the right time. FP on the right side of the smoke gets Norin's. Day Trade falling apart. It's only a 4-point gap to Cerberus. So for Cerberus fans, 2 games to go. They're still not going to be that far behind and catching up to Day Trade. Flash the last one alive. But what is going on with the other teams? How did that not kill MP? I want a refund on that nade. Says Flash.
Yeah, I think they sent a defective one to Flash, unfortunately.
That's bananas.
That's a good spray, but can he bail himself out of trouble? No. There's a trade in from FP. Icarus Cyber probably be able to get Y8 back on up, but Team Bliss, they are hunting. You can see they're having a look through this northern side of the map. They know that if they're to stand a chance of winning this game in the 3-on-3-on-3, they will need to remove Icarus. Oh, this is such a scary cross, though, for them. Like, how do you get over there?
Mirage further afield, up above for Team Bliss, 127 points now. They are 5 points behind their PGC slot, Jordan. As it stands at the moment, those placement points adding up, 3 kill points adding up. It's kind of what we said before when they were on 121. What did we say? 6-7 points from this game minimum? Well, you've got
Nordra
there.
with the push.
Anything from here is a bonus. They do spot him, and Nordra has to be careful. That blue's moving in 10 seconds. So this is kind of what I would consider a bit of a power play. You get a couple of seconds to try and land those shots, push them back, then you've got to get moving. It does allow Kanaxi and Edie to push up, though, so they can get aggressive on the back of the fact that Nordra was now providing Overwatch for this position. But Team Blitz have moved back. The question is, will it be successful? Bryn got the down onto Kanaxi. Ninja 2K now trying to get rid of Icarus. Buriram have the high ground. Bliss, though, they've got the numbers. It's Edie that gets rid of Mirage. He just picked up at the wrong spot, gets taken down, but so did Nordra as well. Bryn has got two big kills for Bliss, but Edie from above gets Monty before he could get into the shack, and the nade can't quite do it. 2 downs.
The Expendables.
1 versus 1, and TE are making the move.
It's not a 1v1 anymore. It's Expendables coming through for the sweep, looking for the frags. They know Team Bliss is down to just one member. In fact, Bryn just died. I'm not sure where that was from. I didn't quite catch in the kill feed. It is just Icarus.
Wait, who went out third?
As a solo. I think it was Team Bliss.
I think it might. I don't even know at this point. Y8 with the down onto 777 Expendables. Well, it is going to be the Expendables that come away with the chicken dinner. What is going on here for PCS 7 APAC? So much at the moment unraveling here on the final day. What a moment, though, for the Expendables. Their second chicken dinner of the tournament. And it has been a tremendous day, a tremendous week for the Expendables, fighting tooth and nail to head to PGC.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can at the very least for the Expendables say that they have done everything that they can to get through to PGC. It doesn't really come down to, oh, they needed to do a little bit more. Like, I don't really think you could ask for much more from the Expendables. Whatever the result is today, I think they can walk away with their head held high that they really gave it the best possible crack. And, you know, obviously there's still a lot of calculations to be done, but they're not looking too shabby. They definitely are getting themselves boosted up those standings as much as possible. You know, Breweram, Team Bliss as well to stay inside of the top four at the very least for both of those two teams has continued to keep them in the hunt as well. I think Breweram's looking really solid to go through to PGC now, and Team Bliss, look, they have a lot of work to do when it comes through to Erangel, but they're not out of the race just yet.
96 points for the Expendables, Jordan. That's top 5 for week 2. That's how many points they've got just for this week alone. So, you know, you talk about having a bad week 1. You know how bad it was? They were second last after week 1 for the Expendables. Wow. Only 57 points from that week, 96 now from week 2. What a turnaround for them. You can't help but just sort of hop on the bandwagon in their ride and in their quest for PGC. And look, it's firmly in their control from here on out. Obviously, we need probably a bit of time to sort of dissect where everything's at. Team Bliss still only in 11th, so they're not quite in that position, but they do get themselves a bit closer to Genius Esports and GE, Jordan, so that obviously helps them out quite a bit in the end. So, look, big results, a lot taking place, but it just continues to compound the fact that this is going to be going down to the wire. This is going to go down to the final game. Every game, we just keep seeing all this moving and shaking. 4-point lead for Day Trade as well on top. Obviously, at the moment, they're looking to go back-to-back for PCS 6, PCS 7 victories.
Well, look, I mean, even at the top end of things, you say things are going to go down to the wire. It is that 4-point lead, which is really nothing to get excited about. And I'm almost at the point where I'm like, well, maybe we can actually kind of think about throwing Breweram into the mix. Today, they have put insane numbers on the board. A first place with 7 kills, a third place with 10 kills, and now a third place with 14 kills. So it was actually, in the end, Team Bliss that went out in 4th there, not Breweram. And they're like, what, maybe 22 points away from Cerberus, which is going to put them 26 points away from Day Trade.
Yeah.
With 2 games to go, they would need to keep the current form that they've got. And obviously, we're changing things up by going over to Erangel. So that'll potentially throw a bit of a spanner in the works for them. But if they keep playing like they have been today, Breweram could actually still win PCS 7, which sounds unreasonable to say.
Absolutely crazy, right, to even think that that's a possibility. But they are on a heater tonight. 19 points from this game. Of course, the Expendables coming away with the chicken dinner. 10 placement points there to go with their 5 kill points, puts them on 15. What a game from Icarus, though, and what a rise for them too, Jordan. They finished bottom 4 last week, and at the moment, well and truly outside of the bottom 5 for this week. So they too have had a very, very strong showing here in week 2. 777, 3 kills of the 5. I mean, that's a pretty good kill proportion for, you know, what was largely a quiet game for them. I think they were one of the teams inside of Al-Azhar, which typically when you get those kind of, well, it wasn't a city finish, but when you get those instances where a city's involved, teams start to make their run out of it. But we never quite got that. Everyone kind of went their separate way, and so everyone was able to get out safely. We saw the Orangutans get out, Breweram got out, and the Expendables all got out. There's that total leaderboard now. And like you're mentioning, Breweram up into 3rd with a bit of a gap now as well, forming to Deraton 5 and SGD. And they themselves not too far from the top 2 with 2 games to go. They would still have to go massive, and they would still have to rely on Day Trade and Cerberus getting virtually nothing in the last 2 games, Jordan. But it's a reality. It's a prospect that could very much eventuate.
It is, yeah. I mean, if we look at the teams currently as they stand going through to PGC, it has not changed from the previous game. It's still Day Trade, Theraton 5, Cerberus, Breweram, the Expendables and SGD. And it starts to feel like those teams are kind of continuing to lock their positions in the deeper we go into the night. But who knows what kind of change-ups can be brought by Erangel. You know, is that a map that Team Bliss feels a little bit more comfortable on? Something that I think I would say yes has been the case in the past. So maybe they have a good run in toward the back end. Daytrade have really picked up the pace on Erangel over the last couple of days, right? This week they've been much better on Erangel, and even Theraton 5, right? They've really struggled on Miramar. So maybe there's still something to be said for them as we head into these last two games. So I'm really looking at what are we going to see as far as change-ups are concerned from Miramar into Erangel. Is it going to be the the be-all end-all for some of these teams, right? Have X or Y done enough when it's come to Miramar? Are they going to fumble the bag a little bit when it does come to Erangel? We have to wait and see, obviously.
Our lovely friend Patrick, again, with another update in terms of the standings and a little bit more to it as well. For those that maybe want to actually go and follow him on Twitter, it's Patrick with 2 T's _36, because he's doing a tremendous job helping us out here. Not a lot has really changed in terms of the 6th job, but obviously the Expendables now up into 6th means they've actually gone from being on around 100 points to 120 points, so they're getting a little bit of a buffer. Bliss only 2 points away from 10th, which if they can get into 10th would overtake SGD. Can you believe that? That SGD could actually drop out of a PGC spot. They basically need to get almost back into the top 4 to guarantee themselves. And there is a doomsday scenario where if Theraton 5 finish 5th, you may as well say goodnight to Team Bliss. So that's kind of where we stand heading over into Erangel. Happy days for the Origami Orangutans. They, of course, picked up a chicken dinner earlier this evening. At the moment, they've also cracked triple digits. The only team that still has not got that is From the Future, 96 points. But good to see all our teams here for APAC this event really contributing. I mean, we've seen PMA do some big things. They're second last. Icarus, I feel like, has been the star of the show tonight, and they're 4th last. So it goes on, Jordan. There's E-Arena. A very solid tournament from them. It's just the fact that they didn't play PCS 6, and they're not in contention for top 4, so they're not in contention for PGC. But a good team to keep an eye on going into next year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's one of those things as well you have to be thinking about, right? If we throw our mind back to the early stages of PCS, like PCS 1s, 2, and 3s, Daytrade and Cerberus were there. They were in a lot of those seasons, and they were not the teams to beat. They were sometimes, in the case, I think especially of Daytrade, like really quite far down the standings. Cerberus, I believe, had a couple of 14th place finishes as well in PCS events of old. But they've kind of stuck with it. Obviously, there has been some roster changes here and there, but... you stick with it, and inevitably you see these teams get better and better, and now they're the teams to beat. And
I can see
Team Bliss.
I can see and feel the stress of Team Bliss from these pictures right now, Jordan. 11th place, so close to getting into the top 10. That was not a bad performance from them. Remembering they lost Insight immediately, so they played as 3 for that game and still managed to get some decent points. You can almost see the stress though, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. They're going to be thinking, hey, please, please, please do not give us a playing path that puts us to Zaki. Let's get a playing path that goes over military base, because the Zaki games have not been very kind to Team Bliss at all, especially going back to that one yesterday where Origami Orangutans just chased them down before they were even able to pick up a couple of guns. 2 players in a US just getting taken out straight off the bat. Here we are, though, into the penultimate game of PCS 7. It is Erangel from here on out, and military base is well and truly in the mix. That is positive signs for Team Bliss, at the very least.
Certainly is. So, where PUBG started is where PCS 7 APAC will be ending. 2 games to go on the lovely Erangel. Still my favorite in terms of personal favorites, Jordan. A lot, though. Very much loving Miramar, and I do like Miramar these days as well. I've even turned my tune on that. Daytrade, T5, Cerberus, Buram, the Expendables, and SGD. As it stands, are our 6 teams from APAC going to PGC. Now, there's one team that's looking to break into that 6th, Jordan. It's Team Bliss. They are pretty much the only one left looking to get in there. Obviously, there's the whole Unicorn Phoenix scenario as well if Cerberus get back into the top spot. But as things stand, that's where we are at. As we look at the Expendables, fresh off of their win on Miramar. Tremendous night from them, has got them up into 6th place, obviously. They've kind of really ridden their own destiny here tonight. They haven't tried to play defensive, play quiet, allow other things to fall their way. They've just gone and got it, and you've got to respect that.
Yep, absolutely. good standard circle shift, nothing too crazy, no real shenanigans, I dare say, afoot in this game. Probably most teams will be feeling quite happy about that news from the future. Almost dead center, but I think they do end up heading over toward Mansion. NGE are sort of looting around Shelter. They're going to be one of those teams that does have first mover advantage. MSC up in Yasnaya. They're going to get the pick of the locations as well. Catch back up with the top 5 from the last game, and no real surprises to see Exquisite up the top there. He had an absolutely stellar game for Teraton 5, got way more points than he ought to have, alongside Ranger X, but he was the one pushing from the front. That said, Nordra, Edie, Cheeksing, 2, 3, and 4. Buriram continue to impress today, and just doesn't feel like they're going to slow down at all.
No, and one thing that's really good for them is that they don't have to finish first. At this point, as long as they finish top 4, like, I'm pretty certain top 4 is 100% locked in for Buriram. So, and at the moment, they're, 23 points clear of SGD. They're building form going into PGC, Jordan. That's the biggest factor in a very competitive region. You know, years gone by, the early days of PCS, maybe there was only 2, 3 real competitors. They're having to work for it this PCS, and I think it's really good preparation for them and pretty much for all of these teams going into PGC. Days gone by, we would usually be done and wrapped up going into the last 2 games and just sort of having a podcast mode. But this is the best kind of prep you can have for this region going into Global Championship.
What is going on here? Trick is running around in the building, and Jiaoman is just standing still in the building next to him. Does he not know Jiaoman is here?
No.
Well, I think that's our answer. So there's a kill for MSC. And unfortunately, from the future, are going to play without Trick for the rest of this game. That's a good spot to hold as well, by the way, for MSC. In this zone, if you can get Sky Garden, which is that sort of hill compound that Jiaoman is holding on to, they're able to control a lot of it. Obviously, it depends on where the next couple of shifts are going to go, but I actually really like that spot for Jiaoman. And the fact that he's won that duel has more or less given MSC control of that area of the map. So it's a really good job in locking in some zone control early on in the piece.
Especially coming from Yasnaya, where, you know, they're not that far away from that position, right? So then it's actually somewhat of a safe push out anyway. So it's actually kind of worked out really well. They've taken advantage of that. Really well played, obviously, for MS Chonburi. Icarus has been thereabouts in this tournament, Jordan, 117 points. They might be the bottom 4, but, you know, one massive game and you can jump up into the top 10. That's the kind of tournament it has been for these teams towards the bottom. For 777 and the Expendables, though, talk about almost job done, right? It's almost job done territory. I don't see a world in which they're going to miss out on PGC, but it is still a reality. They're only 7 points clear of 8th. But dropping out of the top 8 is actually beyond that, about 20-something, or it's about 19 points. So I just don't see it happening for them. I think they're going to be heading off to PGC. Don't want to celebrate too early for those fans of the Expendables, for the Vietnamese fans, but it's looking likely that they'll be going.
Yeah, looking likely is about as much as I'm willing to say, except maybe if your name's Day Trade Cerberus or Theraton 5. I think we're prepared to lock those teams in. Buriram, you know, if they keep up their solid performances and maintain a top 3 or even a top 4, they're pretty much going to. It's good stuff from them. E-Arena, I mean, I feel like they've actually been one of the hidden gems of this season. Coming in, we really did not know at all what to expect. I don't believe any of these players have played a PCS event before. I want to say maybe Lyrics. But, you know, they've done actually quite well for themselves. A little bit of a look deeper into the Thai region, obviously. And I think the Thai region in particular is one of the regions where the talent does go quite deep. We always sort of see a few teams sort of floating around from Thailand that you wonder, like, oh, how did they miss out on PCS this time?
Lyrics was a sub on Day Trade back in 2021, but I don't think we ever... I don't actually know if we ever played.
I've recognized the name, that's all. Like, I can't tell you where from.
Right.
So maybe he did play like a game or two, something like that, or we just saw him in that sub list, and that's where it's coming from.
There is a fun fact. He's actually the twin brother of Flash, Jordan. Bit of trivia there for you. So
there you go.
Obviously sort of understands why they were on the same team. And yeah, I think Lyrics has been very, very good since joining E-Arena, and is now able to sort of, you know, forge his own career, I guess, on this team. And they'll be a team to look out for, obviously, going into next year.
What is this setup? Origami Orangutans, are they trying to get a little bit of cheeky revenge on Theraton 5? throw your mind back to last week, some of those rotations that we saw. Theraton 5 set up, waiting for Origami Orangutans to rotate past. I can't imagine that Origami Orangutans are setting up, waiting there for any other reason than to try to kill Theraton 5 as they rotate through the north.
Well, I mean, they're at the point where there's 2 games to go for the Orangutans. Why not just do whatever you want, really, at this point? Get a bit of revenge, if that's something that's on their mind. But is revenge something that really should be on your mind, Jordan, at this kind of level? Should you not just be worrying about your own game? 2 more games of really good competition to learn and to grow, or who cares, screw it. We've played pretty well for 28 games. Let's just have one where we go a little bit orangutan mode, if you will.
Well, I don't think that I don't think it's not a viable strategy, right? If you're worried about this team rotating behind you and ending up in a similar position, possibly, maybe you do just deal with them before you rotate rather than after. If they're expecting Theraton 5 to maybe come up through the north, come in via Yasnaya, something like that, they just maybe feel like there's not enough room for both teams there. So let's nip it in the bud before it ends up being a problem. Going on in the middle of the field here. Daytrade look like they're just sending a few bits of util around the place. But I feel this is a bit of a counter strat from Origami Orangutans. They clearly know Theraton 5 is going to rotate through here. No, you haven't done it. Okay, let's see what happens, Xenox.
Well, let's have a look and see if Rain can hit some shots here. The first player does get through. A bit of airtime does betray Excrazit. That did not help his cause in surviving. And Ranger X,
down.
The first one through, actually will be the second one down. So no, they are unable to get past the orangutan trap. Here comes Cerberus, though, onto PMA. We saw Haisaki. He actually got it down early, and he hasn't gone down himself. Maybe Erangel will be a different fortune for him as they try and chase down IMP. But here comes the arena actually in the minimap as well. So this could backfire for Cerberus. They need to clear out P, and then they've got to deal with the arena.
They haven't fired a shot yet.
Now
we go. They've lined it up. 1, 2, 3. The shots aren't quite connecting. It's a bit of a mess, but eventually KM99 is going to get them both. Himas and Duck might go down. Cerberus, it feels, might well be out of the race for first place now, at least for this game. Tycon, and actually, funnily enough, Haisaki, who has been the first player to go down for Cerberus 3 games in a row, are still alive. KMF is getting picked back up. Haisaki, good shots onto KM99.
Well, Cerberus haven't deserved it. They haven't deserved first place. Their week 2 has been a little bit hit and miss. They've had some really, really high highs and some really low lows. That's a big high, though, from Haisaki. And he should get both those 2 kills. The Dacia portrays him with the nade, and it's actually KMF that steals it. Poor Haisaki. God, is he going to get a kill here? Yes, he is. His first kill on the night, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And Tycon's going to be careful to not get taken down here. Two kills for Cerberus, 2 points behind Daytrade, but 2 players down.
Yeah, not what you want to be seeing at all. I mean, it was kind of their own volition, right? They decided to try and take that fight to PMA. And just a bit of unfortunate timing that E-Arena rocks up behind them. And this location doesn't end up even being a good one. They're going to have to move. Zizzy gets knocked by Flash. He got a down onto Nurans. And a finish actually from KM99 as well. So what affects Cerberus also seems to be affecting Daytrade at the moment. E-Arena are the arbiters of the top end of the scoreboard.
Well, look at the top 4 in terms of players alive, Jordan. Daytrade's lost 1. Cerberus have lost 3. T5 have lost 2. Buriram's lost 1. The whole top 4 are in shambles on Erangel. Belmont throws out another smoke to get a bit of loot. And well, if on Miramar, Haisaki was always the first one alive, on Erangel, he's the last one alive.
Do not tell me he runs into Young V or Neil T. Looks like he's going to go right past them. That's all right. Where's he going to rock up? There's a hut on his right. He's sending it directly at GE. But, yeah, just going to opt for the hut. A-team spotted him going in there. Here's another crash in effect. SGD onto the Expendables.
Oh, this is massive. Absolutely massive. SGD, this is the kind of game that so far is going their way. The top 4 in shambles. They need to capitalize. Leo somehow stays alive on about 2 HP. Nate's going out. Jervis knocked out as well. They're gone! They are completely wiped out in the blink of an eye. SGD destroyed by the Expendables.
I have no idea how Ninja is still alive inside that hut. I saw a grenade go in. I'm not sure where it ended up, but he might have just timed his push out perfectly and won the duel under immense pressure. Huge stuff from the Expendables. They keep SGD locked in 5th, and hey, I mean, that could still be a death sentence for SGD's chances of going through to PGC, particularly when you're seeing Team Bliss picking up a couple of points here. Mirage has 2 kills, and that's an extra couple of points on the board. They need 1 more to make their way into 10th. There it is. And as it stands right there, correct me if I'm wrong, Xenox, but that would be Team Bliss taking the PGC spot off of SGD.
You are 100% correct, Jordan, in terms of live update for PGC slots. SGD crashing out there, crashing out of PGC, and Blizz are back into the slot. They've gone in and out of it all night, every single game. I will say this. I feel sorry for all you Blizz fans out there. I really do. It's you're going to have no nails by the end of the night. They're back in it with how much longer? They're still tied with NGE, who's had a really good night. Buriram making the move. No kills from them, but 3 players alive as well. So they're also not looking likely to carry on and get to that top 2 position. And here comes AAP. Nordra.
And there goes Buriram. Oh, he just wants to get out of there, doesn't he? He is not interested at all. Probably a wise choice in the end. The vehicle's on fire. He's having to jump out. He's got a smoke. He's down to 1 HP. Y8 hits the shot. It's Icarus, not even Archangel Predator, that will be the end of Nordra. And maybe the rampage that we saw from Buriram on the first 3 maps is going to slow down a little bit now.
So 10 more seconds until phase 3. Where is this circle going to be heading? Buriram down to 2 players. A lot of teams down to 2 players. Again, the top 4, T5 on 2 players. Buriram 2 players. Cerberus 1 player. Daytrade still with 3, but they've got 2 kills and they'll maintain that top position. There's that circle shift onto MS Chomburi, close by to the 2 players of Buriram as well. Theraton 5, Reseda Jr. out to the very far west, close by to the blue, not too close at all. So they've got a bit of a move on. 15 points clear of SGD though. And obviously with SGD going out, those in the top 4 don't have to worry about them. Is this the replay of SGD? Because honestly, we need it, because that was so quick. No, it's Tycon and Cerberus. And this might have been KMF getting the down with the Mini 14. It is. So this was a... Oh, that is a nice shot from KMF.
Yeah, indeed. Haisaki, though, does get out of there. He's the solo that's still alive for Cerberus. Here's the push from SGD that you're looking for. I want to watch that hut and see if a nade goes in from SGD, because I swear someone threw a nade in this hut and Ninja somehow just didn't take any damage from it.
Well, good quick turnaround from Ninja after throwing that nade. Levi's then wins that. So it's just a matter of ones. They're just winning all the 1v1s. Ninja with 2 really good kills. And it was Cloris that got a tag in there as well. So one little bit of a third party from Genius Esports helping wipe out SGD. And honestly, even with the slowdown, Jordan, it was still a quick exit for them.
Still very hard.
They'll be disappointed with that because as it stands, they're not in a PGC slot. And they'll be obviously cheering for NGE to knock out Team Bliss from that 10th place on the sidelines. 1 game to go. So much could still transpire. AAP making the push now from the future. Down to 2 players standing. Make that 1. Only Delta Mix left. And that should be AAP getting up that squad. What? Buriram take a couple of kills away from theirs. Don't think they will. AAP clean up. 4 kills for them. It's not been the tournament for AAP, but they'll be happy with that team fight.
You say you feel a bit sorry for the Team Bliss fans who are probably chewing on their fingernails at the moment, but gotta say, you also should feel sorry for SGD fans. It's a team that really has a whole region behind it as well, the Malaysian region for SGD. And they may just miss out after having such a strong start to the tournament. Hasn't come together. AT with a bit of an awkward grenade. It's all right. He gets out of there alive. Icarus, though, really suffering at the hands of Origami Orangutans now, who have just decided to move into Yasnaya. Ooh, there's another freebie for Team Bliss.
Yeah, holding this mansion position. So they're not looking to push inwards just yet. Yazzie Field's probably too open terrain for them. They've got Sky Garden that they can sort of backfill if Cheeks and Kanaxi play the bowl. on the Yasnaya crossroad. So I think Team Bliss are just going to play this precarious. I think they're going to play this pretty cautious. They've got 4 kills, Jordan. You can just go for placement points from here. Survive with 4 players alive for the next 10 minutes, and you're going to put yourself in a good position. Depends, though, where this phase 4 circle is going to go. The Team Bliss get an eastern shift to help them out. No, they don't.
Nope.
It's Day Trade, MS Chonburi. It's a Yasnaya Fields finish. That can cause a lot of chaos.
horrific.
And guess what? They're a Tom 5, Jordan, who were so far out to the west, can now push into the fields first. They can get the Wizzy.
That
Perfect
Wizzy is going
for
to be
Rossiter
huge.
Jr. and Patton Pong for Theraton 5.
I would expect, though, that we're going to see that Wizzy get crashed at some point. You know, maybe NGE, the Expendables. MSC's obviously just going to group up at the yellows. But where did Team Bliss, Origami Orangutans? I get baited every time by the monkey. NGE, though, they're on the move. I'm kind of interested to see where they do end up pulling up. They thought about the bowls. Diane's headed in that direction. He'll be turned away by Poochills. Is it next toward the Wizzy that he's going to scout? It looks like that's the direction that he's going in, but NGE, they're just not finding anywhere to pull up, and this is the problem with a Yasnaya field finish. If you're not there first, there's really very little to actually play. So they've turned around and gone back to where they came from. I'm going to try and play edge.
Julio finding it down onto Diane, now on the outskirts of Yasnaya, inside of the apps. Shotgun should win here for AT, and it does, and Rain will go down rather easily without a fight. Team Bliss on the move. CJ throws out a nade, but he does get taken down. Courtesy of Monty. The nade actually ends up being his own undoing, funnily enough. Point still goes to Team Bliss, though, for getting the knock. They're 1 point behind Genius Esports for 9th place, so they're creeping up into the top 10 itself as Cheeksing makes the move. He's got 3 grenades in his back pocket, and it may just have a death wish written for Team Bliss. He could really play spoiler here, Jordan.
You say that, though, but this is a great position to play from for Team Bliss if they can clear out Archangel Predator and Buriram. If they clear their backs, they're going to be in an awesome spot. Mad Dog's actually even copping shots from Buriram, so it's not as if Archangel Predator can make that cross and put any pressure on Team Bliss. That's really going to come down to Cheeksing. And, of course, once that zone starts to push in, Team Bliss are going to have to deal with Buriram moving away from the zone. Archangel Predator also doing the same. They have the first mover advantage. They have the numbers advantage as well. Archangel Predator are moving away to the north. And so Team Bliss really only have to worry about Buriram for the moment. It looks like they've ended themselves up in quite a nice position, and that is a huge frag to get. Cheeksing down.
Yeah.
He was going to be the linchpin. He was going to be the X factor. If his position was unknown, maybe he gets 1 or 2, but
exactly.
Team Bliss deal with it accordingly.
It goes beyond just getting the 1 kill, doesn't it? It's what it actually has kind of stopped from happening, and Canaxi, don't think he's going to get away here. He's running into more teams. He gets away from Bliss, straight into NGE. So Buriram United, you may as well say no chance at top 2, but they will be going to PGC, you would have to imagine, with SGD and their performance in this game, Jordan. I don't see a world in which Buru drop to 5th place in the final game after this. Phase 5, again on to T5's Wizzy Tower, along with MS Chonburi as well, being safe at the yellows. Day Trade to the south with a good bowl, but they're going to have Genius and the Expendables who are holding the other bowl to the west of them. Where does Team Bliss go from here? Where does the Orangutans go? Where do NGE go? There's not a lot of room.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the position of Archangel Predator looks like. I know there's a little bit of cover where they are, but I'm just not sure whether or not it's in the zone. That could be an option for Team Bliss, if it is, because they know that Archangel Predator is just a duo, and in fact, actually, Mad Dog's been knocked by Kang of Origami Orangutans, which could help out in that department. I look on the minimap, though, and it is Team Bliss that are looking a little bit more south. Yeah, I mean, these defilades are the ones I'm talking about, and they're just not quite in the zone, unfortunately, for Archangel Predator. And, of course, they're copping shots from Origami Orangutans as well, which is really not going to help out too much. It looks like it's going to have to be an edge sweep for NGE, Team Bliss. And Cerberus with Haisaki just sitting inside that field. He's also going to have to move. A lot of teams are going to go down here. I mean, you're probably not going to see any of them winning the game from this point. It's just going to be hoping to pick up as many points and as many kills as you can before you do drop. Monty's made that move, made that cross into the field, but he's gone early, and that's opened up the angle for NGE.
This is massive, though. Team Bliss, NGE, 2 points separating that sort of 10th place position. If Bliss lose out to NGE, there's every chance that they actually drop out of the top 10. If they wipe out NGE, it's a twofold 4-point swing it goes their way massively.
Right.
So they've got to win this fight. But they've also got Cerberus right next to them. The solo in Haisaki that could play spoiler as well if he wants to make an impact. And NGE make the move, but they're not going to move to safety. Jordan, they're moving straight to Genius Esports. Oh, wiped out. Glory's in Utah. Genius back up into 9th. NGE stay in 11th, and Bliss stay in the top 10.
Team Bliss are going now. They're all in the same car, with the exception being Mirage, who's working his way up the road. They've rocked up, and Isaac's rocked. They don't know that he's there. Bryn, he had no gun out. He was swapping guns, and Isaac's going to get the kill. Insight will trade. It is another point in the back pocket of Team Bliss. In fact, actually count that as 2, because they're now into the placements.
It's about
but they do lose a player for it.
But it's about extending the lead now against NGE. 5 points is the current margin for Team Bliss. Only needing to get into the top 10. Skeet and Chop Jab though with a double knockdown onto Bliss. As you said, not in the zone, so it's only Monty left standing for Team Bliss. Can he survive? Can he push forward, go prone, just try and get some placement points? Otherwise, it's going to be a very nervous last game for Team Bliss fans. Only 5 points separating them and dropping out of PGC. Massive for Genius Esports in retaining their top 9 position. Insight bleeds out. It's only Monty left inside of the blue. And he might just have to go down there and make sure that he doesn't give points over, but there's no teams really worth denying points from. In all fairness, here comes T5 with another good circle shift onto that Wizard Tower. The Expendables, Jordan, it's been a massive night from them. Second with 11 kills, first with 5 kills. 4 players alive here on Erangel with 3 kills. They have come storming home.
Well, where do we end? Where do we end with this one? Day Trader definitely looking the goods. Theraton 5, they could still jump themselves back up into 3rd. The Wizzy is going to be a really powerful position for the rest of this zone. I think they just keep their heads down, try to, pop off a few shots if anyone's trying to come and gate crash their position. Monty will go down to the zone. Fair enough at this point. Didn't really have many options.
Well,
calm before the storm, it feels like right now.
Certainly is. In fairness for Team Bliss, Jordan, they were about 12 points behind with 2 games to go. With 3 games to go. With 1 game to go, they're 5 points in front. So that's a 17-point swing in their favor. Here's the replay of NGE rushing into Genius Esports. And in the end, while the kills didn't go the way of Team Bliss, the result is still a win for them. Obviously, that had meant they were locked into the top 10 going into the final game. Kang going to be knocked down by Skate. Julio then gets Utah. Genius Esports trying to push forward. Orangutan has some kind of hold here on MS Chonburi, but by getting rid of Kang and Nikita, they have broken this barricade very easily for MS Chonburi. Orangutan's out in 6th. Down to our final 5 teams for our second last game of PCS 7 APAC. Glory stays alive, just barely gets into the smoke. Can first aid kit, throws out the nade first. No.
Does he?
Oh, he did.
He did. Oh, he's actually got the knock onto Job Jab. Jowman, though, with the counter nade. If that first aid kit didn't go off, Clories was going to be done. He's going to keep tossing nades, isn't he? Not quite deep enough this time. Job Jab being res, but MSC is hanging on by a sliver. If he would just spray through the smoke underneath that US, he might just do enough damage to clip a couple of feet.
Is there a world that Teraton 5 win this game? They came in late. It was a Western shift that helped them out. They got the Wizard Tower. It's kind of gone their way. Gloria's gone down to Jowman. Valmont avoids the nade on the other side of the smoke. Spotting one on the roof there is Simon T. Still has something else with him alive. 5 kills for Genius. Nade. Now this is lined up pretty well onto Job Jab's head. He's already gone down. This could keep him down. No, but it's something else that gets the down onto Jowman. Simon T has to reload. And might be able to get the kill, and does. MS Chonburi full. Well played, Genius Esports. Simon T and something else. Under pressure, get 2 kills.
Well, a bunch of wounded teams at the moment. The Expendables, though, at the very least, do have the option of picking Ninja back up. So they'll go back to 4. Look, I mean, this could again be another massive game for the Expendables. If they can convert this, they, by rights, should be able to. They've got numbers advantage. That is a big feat again
I think
for Theraton 5.
I think they win at this point. The only thing that's maybe against them is the fact that the Expendables have 4 players alive. But I look at that south side, Jordan, and I do wonder, is there a world that TE, Daytrade, GE, all just start fighting each other, and Rossiter Jr. and Pam Bong just go to feeding on the wall? Yes. That could very much eventuate. It also means 20 points above SGD for T5. So for SGD, this is worst case scenario as well for them.
Yeah. I think it kind of puts them out of reach, right? For one game. Patton Pong has got the knock there onto 777, which is kind of the ideal scenario. Theraton 5, they really want to be harassing the Expendables. Those are the biggest threat for them because they've got 4 players alive. And then it'd be day trade. Obviously, you know, you can't count out GE here, but with just the duo, you'd expect them to sort of work through this southern side the most inefficiently. Day trade are outside of the zone as well, actually. The Expendables have done a good job of getting into the zone and getting some zone control. They've gone before day trade and GE, which means they're going to be moving. And when you're moving, obviously you're a lot easier to see in these fields. Oh, what a shot from Patton Pong. Ninja. He just gets decked. And once again, the Expendables are having to find themselves a res.
Why not just go for broke there with the SLR into the smoke? Flash, one nade. And he's going to be using this one on Genius Esports. Hooks it for what feels like forever as he timed it perfectly. Oh, he hasn't even made the distance. Simon T able to drive away from that position. Belmoth up close inside of the smoke. So obscuring the vision onto something else. He did land a tag though. So he got something onto something. 2 kills only this game for Day Trade. I tell you what, Jordan, it's only 7 points to Cerberus. So they haven't really been able to extend this lead. So going into the final game, that top spot is still going to be a factor. It's still something to keep in mind for who's going to win this event. Nades, Molotovs, flashes, everything being thrown out here towards the southeast. Can T5 get involved? Can the Expendables get involved?
Well, they need to be careful they don't go down to the zone here. Day trade, that's a good knock onto 777. You know, how many times have the Expendables lost a player only to get them back up? Something has to give at some point. Rossiter Jr. has pushed his way forward. This is so greedy. And it hasn't worked out. He got the knock onto Simon, but he'll be finished off. So that all but removes the opportunity for Theraton 5 to win, in my opinion. Patton Pong would need a lot of things to go his way to actually win this from here. If it was a duo, I'd give him more of a chance.
Well, the duo of Genius Esports have been eliminated. 3 kills now for Day Trade, 9 points the gap with Cerberus. So if they can get that to double digits, puts them firmly in the favorite position to win out. But we know Cerberus are capable of a big game. Maybe come home and try and steal away that title. The title that Day Trade are looking to win for the 2nd time in a row. PCS 6 winners, looking for PCS 7 winners. Oh, Patton Pong just steps up to all of a second, Jordan, and he gets lit up, destroyed. The T5 don't end up winning. Only having the 2 players did not help them. Flash! Oh, feeding frenzy onto the running Expendables. He got one onto Duck Juice, but 777 makes it into the compound.
He's on fire!
But he's on fire! 4 health points, stays alive, heals up, gets the revive.
I don't know about gets the revive just yet. Belmoth has gone for a mad wrap through the north, and he is about to find an angle. Not only should he be able to deny that revive, but he might be able to get another knock. The smoke down is keeping them safe for the moment, but I just don't know that they're going to be prepared for Belmoth behind them. Even though they do get that res off, he is in a massive position to strike, and this is reminiscent of what he did in week 1 as well. Remember that sneak forward on the wrangle when we were down on the military island. He needs 2 here, though.
This could be the tournament for Day Trade. This could be back-to-back PCS events. Of course, 1 game to go after this. 1 more game. But if you wipe out the Expendables and get the win, there's an extra 8 points up for grabs. It could be an 18-point lead going into the final game. Oh, Ninja just set down. No chance against Poo Chills. Belmoth should get that kill in 777. No, he makes it up. I don't think he wants to give away his position. He could creep right up to the Wizard Tower. 777, big knockdown. Poo Chills is gone with a bit of help from Duck Juice. Belmoth, he's got to make something happen, Jordan. He's got to get moving.
He's waiting for the perfect time, though, isn't it? He is really being patient. He's the silent assassin at the moment. But it remains to be seen if it's going to end up being worth it. The Expendables are still looking for Flash. They have not thought about Belmoth just yet. They've got to be wondering what is up. Where is this 3rd player? They see Flash. Shots coming through now. And to be honest, Flash's position is starting to become more and more tenuous as that zone pushes in. You have to go now. Belmoth, you are running out of time. He's fired a shot. He's waited too long. He didn't get enough done. And the Expendables have another win.
Wow. 11 points the gap going into the final game, Jordan, for top spot. And yeah, as you just said, another win for the Expendables.
by the way.
Back-to-back victories, 3 now for the tournament, and suddenly into the top 4, I think maybe even top 3 for the week, maybe even almost second for the week. That's the kind of week the Expendables have had. From second last, almost to second for the week. So obviously separated. It doesn't get them into second overall, but boy, they are obviously going to PGC now, Jordan. There's absolutely no way they will drop out of the top 8 with 1 game to go. Big congratulations for the Expendables. They've earned it. They've bloody earned it. They've fought so hard. And honestly, as just an APAC fan, you've just got to be happy to see them do it in this manner. It takes a little bit of gloss off when a team just sort of limps in. They have just absolutely stormed into PGC. They will be red hot going into that tournament, and they've got the form to maybe contest against the best in the world.
Yeah, this is very Expendables-esque though, isn't it, right? They're one of those teams where sometimes you just look at them and you think, all right, they're done. Like, there's nothing left for them. And then they just somehow start to pop off. 113 points this week. Yeah. That actually only puts them behind Daytrade, who, let's be real, have really been unstoppable this week. So, yeah, phenomenal stuff from the Expendables. And they rocket their way up the scoreboard.
Oh, I can't believe
they are
that.
a feast or famine kind of a team. And I guess this week they're feasting.
Yeah, second last in week 1, and if week 2 was to be, separated into its own week, second. So what a turnaround for them. They're fortunate. And what's interesting about it, if you kind of look at the Liquipedia, there's not a lot of grey, not a lot of gold, not a lot of brown. They're not actually necessarily always finishing in the top 3, top 4. From this week alone, they've got 74 kills. So they're just fragging out. They're just backing themselves in to win a lot of team fights. And it just so happens the last 3 games, second with 11 kills, first with 5 kills, first with 7 kills. They've left it to the last minute, as most of us do with our homework, but hey, they've handed in an absolute wonderful essay and getting an A+.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, a lot still going on when it comes to those PGC placement points as well. We sort of highlighted the fact that now Team Bliss is just hanging on to the 6th qualification slot. SGD, Unicorn Phoenix, both on 95 points overall, and Team Bliss on 100, assuming they maintain 10th place. They have a 5-point lead over NGE. It's tenuous at best, but maybe it's enough.
I've done my own updating of my live standings, Jordan, so not a whole lot has changed. Daytrade at the moment, of course, still would be our PCS winners. T5 would get the tie point slot, Cerberus the Vietnamese slot, and then you got Buriram, Expendables, and Bliss. So what basically we are going to be looking out for in the final game, Daytrade and Cerberus, who ends up winning that. But more importantly, SGD have kind of backed themselves into a position where they can't do a whole lot themselves. They would have to go and get 22 plus points, Jordan, in the last game, and for Theraton 5 to get nothing. So they're also hoping that NGE can overtake Team Bliss. If that happens, SGD go to PGC and Bliss will miss out. Expendable 17 points from that game. Genius Esports 12. And a pretty decent spreading of points here. 12 to MSC, 10 to Daytrade, and a 987 as well on the other side of the standings. Levi's just the 2 kills. Got a massive kill win in the end for the Expendables this time around, Jordan. But, I mean, as I said before, they have been fragging out. The kills is actually why they're in the position they're in, just not in this game.
Yeah, look, still, a little bit disappointing for SGD in particular, right? I think that they would have come into today very much feeling like they had a PGC spot not quite assured, but very much within their grasp, and it's just not come together today at all for SGD. So, they're sort of the antithesis, really, to the Expendables, who, when you look at it, you say Expendables have done everything they possibly could to secure a PGC spot. SGD, on the other hand, have felt like they've really done nothing at all today. And it's just, unfortunately, the worst time to be kind of going down without a fight, because week 1 was phenomenal for SGD, but they may just slip out of that 6th position, and that would be very disappointing for them because, again, they thought they were in with a real good shot, and it doesn't seem like that anymore.
1 placement point tonight for SGD. Says it all. They've had kills, Jordan. They've had kills, 6, 8. They've had about 16 kills, in fact, tonight, but 1 placement point. That's really what has sort of let them down. If you were to match your placement points for your kills, they'd get about 16 points. That alone would put them in contention to still overtake T5, get themselves into PGC. But yeah, they have to go massive, and they've got to hope that obviously Team Bliss can't win out in that final game. So we go to a break, but when we do come back, one last game to see who's going to go to PGC from PCS 7 APAC. Don't miss it. Don't go too far. We'll be right back shortly.
bottom to the top, we don't stop. From the birds to the block, we don't stop. Outside, inside, we don't stop. Global, worldwide, we don't stop. From the birds to the block, we don't stop.
Some updates to Destin, a new vehicle, and special new skins. All this and more as we dive into the Update 19.2 patch report. First up, Destin is getting some additional cover in several areas, as well as more cell towers, ascenders, and fuel pumps. You'll also now notice the passage of time and even shifting weather patterns in your Destin games. If your match is going long and you're starting to feel hangry, look out for the newest Battlegrounds vehicle, the food truck. This sturdy vehicle holds a driver and passenger, while up to 2 others serve up hot food and even hotter lead in the back. There's also new heavy stock in the game to try out on your favorite stock-slotted weapon. You may remember us talking about an animation refresh some time back. This update, you'll start to see the fruits of those efforts with new animations for all weapon operations and player motions. Check them out and let us know what you think. For those looking to really pimp their ride, we've added new special vehicle skins to the game. Our first set will turn your run-of-the-mill Coupe RB into a sleek and sexy McLaren GT. Customize paint, rims, and even your brakes. These customizations can be crafted in the workshop or by collecting rewards from the new McLaren Crafters Pass. But before you go betting your pink slip, while it may look like a McLaren, it still performs like a regular old coupe. There's quite a bit more to learn about these updates and more, so check out the patch notes for full details. Update 19.2 is here, so drop in, wax up that new McLaren, and serve up some chicken dinner, extra bullets. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Well, it comes down to this one final game, one last drop into Erangel to see who's not only going to be our PCS 7 winner for APAC, but who will be heading off to PGC in the next few months. I mean, Jordan, we've been doing the maths all night, the calculations all night. It seems like to me, obviously, Archangel Predator, gone. They're out. UNP, gone. They're out. It's basically down to Bliss, Buriram, and SGD for basically 2 spots. Someone's going to have to miss out. Buriram United, of course, they're on 227 points, well and truly in front of SGD. So it's pretty simple. Bliss have to finish in the top 10. SGD need to try and get into the top 4 to then push Bliss out. So that's basically where it's at.
Yeah, and I think this is a world where you start to sort of factor in hot drops, or maybe not even necessarily hot drops, but camping rotates. I think that's seriously going to be a factor for SGD, and probably something that Team Bliss has to be aware of. Here's the scenario. SGD, if they want to get into the top 4, they need to get plus 23 points on whatever Theraton 5 is able to get this game. That, to me, seems like a very unrealistic prospect. So, in that sense, you're not really playing for yourself. You have to be playing to deny Team Bliss points, knock them out as much as possible, and then hope that NGE can go on and get, 5 or more points compared to whatever Team Bliss get. So, I don't know necessarily, obviously, what SGD is going to opt for. Team Bliss, they might opt to even change things up as well, depending on that plane path, to make it a little bit more of a guessing game for SGD as to where they are. But if I'm looking at this as SGD, I think personally, I'm trying to find them on a rotate somewhere, trying to knock them out, and then, cheering essentially for NGE to get as much work done as possible to knock Team Bliss down into 11th place.
We are underway, match 30, the final game of PCS 7 APAC. Who will be our winner? Will it be Day Trade? Will they go back-to-back? They won PCS 6 and it was all too easy. PCS 7, though, has been the hard road. Can they be just the second team to win PCS titles 2 in a row?
Team Bliss are not dropping Millibase.
It was Buriram last time, and you've gone a little early there, Jordan. They are, in fact, going to be headed to the military base.
I was thinking, it was really just on that point, wasn't it? SGD, though, you can see they're not heading anywhere remotely near Team Bliss. So I guess that talking point is gone for the moment. We will see whether or not, obviously, it comes down to a bridge camp. Something like that, for example, could be still a factor, particularly if the circle does end up on the western side of the map and Team Bliss have to come over the western bridge. That'll be a little bit of an easier one for SGD to set up shop in. But either way, looks like both teams are just going to play their game out as normal.
I respect that. I do respect that. I've always been of the opinion, I don't really care if you want a hot shop, if you want to camp rotates, whatever you think can get you the win, and especially when PGC's on the line, do it. Just do it. Don't even second guess it. But they're going to back themselves in, and I don't mind that. And I think that for SGD, the way that they've been playing, Jordan, I respect it. Total kills throughout the 29 matches as it stands. Day Trade, Theraton 5, both leading the way.
Wow.
Phase 1 circle right on top of Lipovka. So we could get a spicy circle. Why not? Why not add it in to the equation for APAC? It's already a chaotic region as a whole. May as well give us something a little bit special out towards the eastern side. So obviously this game, for those watching at home, we will be keeping our eyes on Day Trade, Cerberus at top, SGD and Bliss for the last PGC slot. Everyone else will be there amongst it. And that also means we'll be looking at NGE. Jordan, 5 points behind Team Bliss. Of course, they themselves can knock out Bliss and help out SGD.
Yeah, can't get themselves into the PGC discussion at all, but they can really play spoiler, can't they? I mean, even Archangel Predator, right? They're only 14 points behind Team Bliss. Their day hasn't been phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not out of the realms of possibility that Archangel Predator could put together enough points to even overtake Team Bliss in this one as well. So, a bit more of an outside shot, but maybe they can be a bit of a factor in this game as well. Take a look at the dying stages of that last game. Bearing in mind, all this time, Belmoth is wrapping in behind, and you almost look at that. When Puchils gets that initial knock onto Ninja, maybe you just want to see Belmoth pull the trigger and throw chaos in the ranks, just to give Puchils a little bit of extra time to get himself sorted. But that 1-for-1 doesn't really work out in the favor of Day Trade, and then Belmoth, it just sort of felt like he was trying to hold the trigger for a little bit too long, and he just couldn't get enough done, and inevitably the Expendable, their power of numbers and obviously their zone control there as well, proving to be a little bit too good. Back-to-back for the Expendables too. Good day for them. And they've done everything they can to secure their place in PGC, and they've pretty much done that. So real kudos has to go to the Expendables for delivering under pressure today.
Really
Here's a
good
fight, by the way, on the pit.
Really good POV of Levi's there, and just his micro play, everything he's doing, quick decisions, and he's done it all so perfectly. As you said, in the pit, the main game, the live game for our final game, Rossiter Jr. out. He will be our first death, of course, Jordan, much to our dismay for the Fantasy League, for me and you. So good, though, for the Orangutans, 120 points. The other thing I want to keep an eye on, from the future, can they crack triple digits, Jordan?
I'd give them a pretty good shot. I think 4 points is definitely
They've been stuck on 96
doable.
for so long.
Yeah, but they're in the center of the circle this time.
Yeah, I'm actually very quickly going to go back and see, have we had a PCS where every single team gets to 3 digits? Obviously, got to ignore those
A lot of the
winner chicken dinner.
Yeah, there was a lot of seasons as well with like differing game numbers. Neil T's a very clean spray there onto Canaxi. And that might just be the end of him for PCS 7.
I can confirm it. I mean, obviously, yes, you were right. You bring up the fact that there's been different formats, but this would be our first ever PCS APAC where every team would get triple-digit points. So it's still very much if it happens. 4 points from the future. Come on, fingers crossed for that. And Canaxi, of course. So the first 2 players to die, both from my fantasy league.
Yep, it's a good -6 for you.
Yeah,
Love that. Rossiter Jr.'s on my fantasy league too, so not feeling too good about that one, but who cares about fantasy league at this point? We're really focused on who's going through to PGC, and that's big news. Just looking at the bridge cross there for Team Bliss, they're going to be very wary of that. Of course, no one camping it at the moment.
Oh, they're going in on this. They're going to go straight in on from the future. This is massive. Cerberus have not necessarily been winning a lot of their team fights. Man, actually didn't take the initial shots, only has the one nade. Duckmine knocked down. This could very well be Day Trade being crowned champions right here, right now.
Tap.
It's Y8 from a distance going tap, tappity tap.
Tricks
They've
on the
got
roof.
the smokes out. Trick on the roof gets knocked down by Hisaki. Maybe a reprieve for Cerberus. They do lose Duckmine, but they get one. So 1 for 1 for Cerberus. They know where Man in as well. Man watching the front door, but behind Hisaki. 2 big downs. He almost went down to the nade. Survives it, though. They do take the compound. They lose 1, but they get 2.
Well, that's starting to put our dreams of every team getting through to 100 points in a bit of jeopardy. From the future, lose 2 players very quick. They, I don't think even picked up that point. They did get a knock onto Hisaki, but someone must have stolen it. This is an important cross to watch, you would think, but actually there's nobody nearby. I will say, though, Xanax, I'm watching on the minimap, and SGD are moving their way down to that bridge. So if Team Bliss are not quick about this cross, they could be sitting on the sidelines and waiting to see what NGE can do. And NGE have already picked up 3 kills. They're now 2 points deficit on Team Bliss.
Goodness.
SGD, I think they're going to bridge camp them.
This could be huge. 3 kills for NGE. If they get just... I think they have to get 3 more. I believe Team Bliss have the tiebreaker. We saw them tied earlier this evening, and I believe NGE were holding the 11th position when that happened. But yeah, this is the stuff of nightmares for Bliss fans if NGE go massive in this last game and Bliss drop out of the top 10. Okay,
I know I'm cutting in here, but Team Bliss have cancelled their bridge cross. They saw SGD, or they had a spider sense. I don't know. They were halfway over that bridge, and they've decided to turn around and go back the other way.
Wow. Massive. Yeah, well, I did see Team Bliss go to the crossroads before Jordan early, and they got to the crossroads early, and I do wonder, by getting to the crossroads early, you get a little bit of vision. I wonder if they actually had someone already in a position to watch to see, does SGD come? Had you then seen that, you can then obviously make the decision to not go over the bridge. So SGD will be like, well, this is obviously not going to go our way, but it does force Team Bliss on a massive rotate. Massive, maybe even into the blue. 2.5 minutes, but it is making its way in close by to Ferry Pier at the moment, and you've still got to go over the Lighthouse Bridge. As we do see the map, actually, this is probably really good to see. You can, of course, watch twitch.tv/PUBG Esports map, but there's that bridge camp from SGD, and Team Bliss have circumnavigated it.
Mirage is even going to go up the hill and have a look to see if there's anyone camping on the other side of the western bridge as well. They are being so cautious. You would not see this in Game 15. This only happens in Game 30.
Yep.
SGD are being very patient about it as well, but they are not going to find their mark. Team Bliss are not going over that bridge. They are not interested in the slightest. It, of course, is going to mean a much, much worse rotate for Team Bliss, and they're going to be sort of in the realms of day trades vicinity as well, which is kind of a scary prospect. But with the zone, you know, still kind of a bit up in the air, it obviously has to come back away from the water. They might not be feeling too bad about it if they do end up on the western side of the zone. Could definitely be worse. The real problem for Team Bliss here is, of course, that NGE have picked up 3 kills already.
Yeah.
So they've closed the distance, and it's really teetering on a precipice right now as to which team's going to go through to PGC.
Not just that, but look at the map here, Jordan, and NGE's position, right? Like, they're actually in a really, really profoundly strong position just south of Cerberus. So, you know, and remembering it's going to come in from the water eventually. So I actually think NGE is in a long game position too. I think there's every world in which they go towards the end. If that does eventuate, Team Bliss need to match that, maybe even better that, if they're going to have any hope of making it into PGC. NGE are looking like they're well primed for a big game here as E-Arena and PMA doing battle. This one happening over towards Prison on the western side. 35 more seconds till phase 2. And yes, Team Bliss riding that blue wave in along with the orangutans, even Theraton 5. Not only that, Jordan, but SGD are sitting in the blue. They are sitting in the blue, waiting for Team Bliss to make the cross over a bridge that they're not crossing.
Well, they know that that's pretty much their only chance of actually influencing this result. There's never a world where SGD is going to be getting enough points. Yeah, I mean, I 100% respect it. I 100% agree with it. I think people are looking at that and saying, yeah, SGD's trolling. But the reality is they're not getting 23 points over what Theraton 5 is getting here. Let's just be real. Let's be real with ourselves.
Yeah.
So the only way that they can actually, quote-unquote, ensure that they go through to PGC is to ruin Team Bliss's game. And their assumption is Team Bliss is going to cross over this bridge.
But at some point, though, you've got to go, hey, guys, I wonder, there's a second bridge. Maybe they went that way.
Maybe.
You've got to leave the blue at some point, guys. Like, Team Bliss are not going to be just holding crossroads in the blue phase 2 for this long. Like, come on, this is ridiculous from SGD, and they're giving up circle position too. They're really starting to actually
It doesn't matter, though.
Well,
it really doesn't matter. They could literally throw their game away doing this, and it wouldn't affect the result in any way, shape, or form.
That is true.
That's the only reason they're still here. They're just praying, hoping, holding on,
Yeah.
and
Well,
hoping that Team Bliss is going to come over this bridge.
Like-
they're not, obviously, as we know, but
yeah. They can stand there
that's
for
what's
the next
going through their head.
10 years, and they ain't crossing that bridge. So at some point, they're going to have to think and move away from that position. So phase 2 has come. It is on top of NGE. What's funny, though, is that SGD don't realize this, but NGE, Jordan, might actually end up being their savior because they're having a great game and they're in the best position. So it still might work out for SGD.
Indeed, it might. They're still sitting there, by the way. Either way, Team Bliss have sort of ended up in the Yasnaya fields, if anyone's interested in keeping up with their location.
And I should mention, by the way, because there might be some people who have only just joined in and they're wondering why we're talking about 5th versus 10th. PCS 7, the points are combined with PCS 6. So obviously, we're talking about points that Team Bliss had acquired in PCS 6. There is an overall point standing that is not on your screens right now. You can go and look at the Wikipedia. And that is what we are talking about for Team Bliss getting into PGC. There's some people confused at the moment.
It really comes down to those two teams. Everyone else is more or less a lock. Day Trade, Cerberus, Buriram, Theraton 5, they're most likely going, and the Expendables as well. And then the 6th slot, we're still waiting to decide whether it'll be SGD or Team Bliss. That's why there's such a big priority being put on those two teams at the moment. Day Trade, of course, are looking to win PCS 7, and they're going about it quite nicely. They've still got 4 players alive. Cerberus have dropped a player pretty early on in the piece, but arguably have better circle positioning than what Day Trade does. But I will say Day Trade does a pretty good job on the edge play. They like to sweep. They like to take zone control later on in the piece. So all they need is one decent zone shift down to, you know, maybe the south or out toward the west. And I think they're in a good spot. Bliss are very scared.
Well, they've got to play the long game, and it actually might help them in the long run because if NGE, with the position they've got, are going to get those placement points, Team Bliss need 4 alive, and they need to be not the first team out of here. So yeah, they're playing it quite safe, and SGD finally getting the message here that Bliss are not coming. They're not coming to the party. But Insight's going to be so careful here. Every move that they make, they've got to be careful. If you're pushing on to Theraton 5, Monty just a little bit close by to Insight, but the other two a bit further back. Ranger X, if he peeks over this, it will be a sitting duck. He will be very much shadowing that skyline. 14 seconds till phase 3. Bliss don't have to engage this, but they will. But Insight is probably not aware of the fact that Ranger X is so close.
I got a bad feeling about this for Team Bliss. They don't know about Ranger X. They also don't know about Exquisite, who's kind of on the other side of the hill. Oh, this is so bad for Team Bliss. They really need to just reset, go back to the yellows, and maybe with that zone shift, they're going to think about doing that. Monty is still out in the blue. But if they hang around on this hill or take too long to exit as well and allow Theraton 5 to walk up on them, this could go horribly wrong. Team Bliss, they've lost a player. Insight's down. Mirage needs to win this duel. He will. It's a big one. Exquisite's down to about half HP as well, but the grenade sends Mirage flying. He's still alive. It's the exchange of artillery back and forth. Team Bliss now know they need to get the hell out of here.
Monty, though, inside of the blue. That nade keeps bouncing away. He'll get the revive because of it. Brim pushing up, though, but inside the vehicle. He's got to get out of it very quickly. Exquisite, 5 bullets left. Has to reload, but he got the down onto Bryn. They get the revive onto Insight, but for what cost here? Team Bliss, 2 points above 11th. 2 points into the zone. They might just have to give up Bryn here. There's no chance of saving him. You've got the revive onto Insight. You'll have 3 for the remainder of the game, but it's not looking good at all. 14.5 minutes gone. Insight peaks back up, back down to half health. We move away from that one momentarily. Bryn, confirmed, dead, gone. Now over to Cerberus, who are obviously fighting tooth and nail to try and stay alive for that top spot. Edie taken out as well for Buriram on the rotation south of Mansion. If they push into Cerberus, they might be out of the game.
What? They're going to try and breach this as well? Nordra, he's got balls of steel. He's going to send it in onto Cerberus. I mean, there's another player on top as well. It's Delta Mix. Teddy's in here as well. This is just an absolute shenanigans from Buriram. But, hey, that is Buriram in a nutshell, isn't it? They are not afraid of anything. Nordra hits the nade onto Delta Mix. But is he aware that there's 2 Cerberus players still on the bottom floor of this building? There are smokes everywhere.
And would all but confirm for their countrymen for Thailand to go back-to-back. And ironically, it was Buriram, the only other team to go back-to-back here for PCS APAC. There's just something about Thailand dominating PCS APAC. Taikon knocked down. Cerberus have had a tremendous run this tournament, Jordan. They held first for 27 matches, but at the final hurdle, they have tripped and stumbled, and Daytrade have taken advantage of it. And with a bit of help from their brothers in arms, Cerberus are not long for this world.
Oh, that molly. That molly has landed perfectly. Teddy, what a throw. Him ass is dead.
That's it.
That's the end of Cerberus. Daytrade will win PCS 7 and by a significant margin. Now you have to say they're going to continue to add to that total. Much deserving victors. They go back to back, but it's not done yet for Buriram.
And we're not done yet for us either. There's more still to this tale. In terms of PGC slots, obviously for Buriram, Jordan looking extraordinarily likely that they should be okay, but, you know, down to 2 players, only the 1 kill, and SGD still have all 4 players alive. They're at top 5, only 1 point behind them, so they need to get some points here, and they do get rid of Tede on 99, Jordan. 99 points! They've just fallen short of triple digits. It's not going to happen, unfortunately, from the future. Now we turn our attention well and truly to SGD and Team Bliss. Who is going to PGC?
It's a big question mark, isn't it? And I guess another one to sort of factor in is, can Theraton 5 take back that 3rd place from Buriram? They're only 2 points behind. You get some vision of the rotation attempt from Team Bliss and obviously SGD trying to bridge camp. We talked about that at length already. It was Mirage that spotted SGD out. So they did move early enough, Team Bliss. And they were well aware that SGD was going to be camping. We wondered, was it Spider Sense or did someone see someone? And of course, Team Bliss, they are, you know, doing what they can. They're crossing the T's, dotting the I's, really playing the fundamentals.
Oh, well, there's a rock in the way of Insight there. And Monty, I do wonder what the plan is now. Obviously, SGD on the move as well. Remember, of course, because of their camp on the bridge in the blue, they've come in very, very late. So they've been just sort of trying to scrap their way into the circle, getting shot at the moment, actually, by the team that they kind of want to feed. If they get knocked by NGE, they should probably just beeline run straight towards them and feed them 4 kills. It honestly is the best thing they can do, Jordan.
I think they just run at GE and run in between NGE and try and knock a couple of the GE members as well, and then maybe it's a 2-for-1 deal for NGE.
Don't get greedy. Don't get greedy.
That's really big braining it. They're at top 5 though. They're on the move, and looks like they're just going to crash center. There's really not a whole lot of cover to work with here, but there are some deflays that they can prone in.
777 knocked down, obviously, for the Expendables. They are in. They're going to PGC. Representing Vietnam. SGD, though. I just almost want to see it. Getting knocked and then proceeding to run into them. Here we go, though. Day Trade, our champions. Oh, what a nade from Duck Juice! He's known for those. Big blow up for Day Trade, but they can honestly start the celebrations early in terms of PCS winners. Belmoth can have a victory lap on the motorbike. It doesn't matter. You can just laugh about that one. They are your champions. They are your winners. They fought tooth and nail to take that top spot away from Cerberus. It's not the biggest of margins, Jordan, but it's a win nonetheless. Back over to Team Bliss, south of just below Heaven, Skyguard, whatever you want to call it. AAP, who have been so quiet for so long. They have the chance to play spoil. They look on over. No nades for CJ. What are the odds? He only needed 1 or 2. Mirage Insight knocked down. This might be it. Team Bliss might just be saying goodbye to PGC. Wiped out. And now have to just hope that NGE get wiped out, which I don't think will happen. I think it's going to be SGD to PGC.
Well, let's just hold our horses. Stranger things have happened. SGD, they've lost Sophia. Jervis and Leo are the last 2 alive for that squad. And they're just going to pop their heads down. E-Arena on the move now as well, heading towards Skyguard. And they probably want to take up residence right where Team Bliss left off. Archangel Predator are incredibly happy with the way this zone has shifted. And honestly, it might even be enough for them to potentially leapfrog Team Bliss as well if they can go on to win the game from this position.
Well, obviously, this was the replay of the attempted crash from Day Trade. And talk about timing, as they hit the wall, blew up. That's probably the closest thing to realism we've seen in PUBG for a while. Over to NGE, Jordan, 2 kills, might do it, 3 definitely will. In obviously denying Team Bliss. GE right now playing for TB as it stands. Van Youngby low, so is Diane. The nades go out. Diane's taken very low. NGE, they're on the back foot all of a sudden. They got 1 kill, 137 points. Only 2 up. Diane gets off the first aid kit, back to 75 health. I think they're going to stay alive. I think they're going to push forward. They don't get the kills, but they're edging closer to placement points as well. 10 teams remaining. Simon with a nade. They have to win this. The duo, if they fall and die to NGE, Bliss are gone from behind. It's AT, but Yuda's taken down by Youngby. They're tied on points, Jordan. They're tied on points. 1 more will do it, and Bliss are out. They're tied. Youngby's taken down. Same with Van. Only 1 more standing for NGE. They need to work out Simon T. The nade goes in. They spot Simon at the Dacia. He stays alive. He dies. NGE will knock out Team Bliss. SGD are going to the PUBG Global Championship for Malaysia.
It is
what
done.
An ending.
Neil T, the last man alive for NGE. He is going to go down right after the fact. 1 point, the difference maker for SGD, but NGE, they get it over the line. It's heartbreak again for Team Bliss. And NGE, well, they are owed a beer or 2 by SGD, I dare say. Oh, dearie me, the drama continues. And for now, we're just playing for placements. We're playing for money. We've locked in the teams going through to PGC. Theraton 5. They want to take 3rd place away from Team Buriram. Goodness me.
That is an amazing ending. Whichever team you support, you just have to stand up and applause for what came down to the wire. Came down to 1 fight, 1 little man in Neil T. Jordan. He stood up for NGE. 1 point. Team Bliss have missed out on PUBG Global Championship by 1 point. I know it comes down to the final game, but you've always got to go back and think, could have we done more in week 1? That's got to be the thought process.
Yep.
When you go back and watch the VODs and you break everything down. For SGD, they go out in 5th. They may, and they should be aware that they've done enough. But still, this is the replay of their rotation, and unfortunately, never a good place to be, is it? You're out in the open, exposed, you've got a team above you. Was it the right pull-up? In the end, no is the answer. Obviously, for those unaware, in terms of the live game now, there's not really anything else going on. We have our PCS winner, we have our 6 teams going to PGC. We kind of just cool down a little bit now as we dissect everything, but yeah, that pull-up underneath heaven. Some would call it hell, and that is what Team Bliss are in right now. They are in hell.
Well, look, I mean, you say it might be just the 1 point difference maker, but actually, if Archangel Predator continued to find some frags, they could actually leapfrog Team Bliss as well as potentially even NGE. So it might come down to a little bit even more than that. They're at top 5. They're really under the pump right now, but that's a nice spray from Patampong onto Levi's. Gets him done. The Expendables out in 6th. That's going to be the end of a phenomenal night. And actually a phenomenal week for the Expendables. They've really, really done well for themselves, and they've secured their PGC spot as well tonight. Nice shots in from Cheeksing onto Exquisite. Buram and Theraton 5. This is quite an important fight, actually, for both these two teams. There's a lot of prize money involved in the 3rd versus 4th split. And it looks like it might actually end up going the way of Buram.
That was pretty quick there to see E-Arena exiting the arena. T5, and it's just all the formalities at this point, isn't it? Even in the game itself. Phase 6, Jordan, and we've went down to our final 3 teams. Cheeksing can take it down. So is Nordra. What a response from Buram as they exit. They kind of looked not in a bit of hurt throughout the middle portion of this event, Jordan, but they bounced back towards the end, didn't they? Finishing strong. They started week 2, 15, 16, 13, 9 in terms of placement points, so they finished off strong, got themselves out of that 5th position, which in the end would have been enough, but they obviously wouldn't have been aware of that. And I guess it comes down to who's going to end up winning this game, and yeah, it might be further bad news for Team Bliss, who look like they may actually even drop out of 11th into 12th. Not that it really matters all that much.
Yeah, not really anymore. I think what they wanted obviously was that PGC spot, but they've missed out on that. Xiaoman not able to convert the kill. People Patrick, though, will go down with the nade. And so MSC, they may just stave off a little bit of further disappointment tonight for Team Bliss if they do convert this one. I don't think they stand to overtake the Expendables, even if they do. But it'd be a nice one to finish off with. It's been a pretty decent season for MSC. Probably not exactly what they would have wanted. I think they'd have been looking for a top 5 in their realistic discussions, but this would be a good way to send it off. Is there ever a res here onto Evil Patrick? Not if Skeet's hanging around. Although, if he drops, that could have been a bit dangerous. They're going to stick it. They're going to give it a crack. They know that's their one chance of winning this game.
Gonna go and try and stick it. MS Chonburi, of course, this is all just formalities for them. They would just be looking at this more or less in terms of, you know, keeping that 7th position, but they can't even go into 6th. They can't drop out of 7th, so obviously a little bit more to it here for AAP. They can actually jump up into 10th. Probably not the position they wanted to finish in. It was all said and done, but a little bit of extra prize pool. They would take it. High ground for Evil Patrick. Has the molly to try and finish off Jiaoman, which it should and does. So now makes it a 3 versus 3. No way Jiaoman's going to get brought back up. Job Jab always the entry fragger for MS Chonburi. Can he do it once again here?
Yeah, a bit of a cross to make, actually, for both teams. That circle shift has made this one interesting. CJ is in the anchor position, and he's getting some good damage down. Great shots with the Mini 14, and CJ has opened the door up for Archangel Predator to now win this game. There's no chance that Skeet is getting picked back up. Job Jab's got his way all the way down to the southern side, and he's going to start to challenge CJ for positioning, but he's going to have to really pop off here to win this game for MSC.
35 seconds till phase 8. Job Jab and Julio versus Mad Dog, CJ and Evil Patrick. CJ with the mini. Actually almost running out of bullets, Jordan. He's about 14 left in the chamber, but they get the down onto Julio. The Job Jab now with a big job to do in a 1 versus 3. If he can get the down onto CJ, at the very least, CJ is not going to be able to get brought back up. Is he aware of CJ's position, making the long wrap? Well, CJ looking towards Job Jab, has spotted him, should finish him off, and does do so. Archangel Predator jump up and will finish in 10th place. They take the win, but Day Trade, they are once again your PCS APAC champions. They go back to back, PCS 6 and PCS 7. It's been their year, Jordan, and they will head to PGC as one of the favorites from APAC.
Yeah, definitely. You got to give them your props, and you got to give them your faith heading into PGC. I don't think that there's been a more consistent team this year than Daytrade. So if we're looking to anyone to perform this time around, it probably is going to be Daytrade. I think last year the conversation would have largely been around probably Fury, and it was ending up to be Fury that did reasonably well for themselves. But you know, Buriram, they came a little bit too late to the party last year, and I guess this year they've sort of resurged things quite nicely. So maybe they're in there as well. I think Cerberus fell off a little bit too much for me to have a huge degree of confidence about how they're going to go into PGC. It's always a really difficult task when you're sort of comparing the APAC competition to the global competition, because I know in general the APAC results haven't actually been that great on the global stage. But hey, with what happened at Nations Cup this year, maybe there's a bit of a resurgence coming through for the APAC region, and I'm certainly hoping to see Daytrade kind of leading the way when we do see these teams sent over to PGC. I think they've been a really phenomenal team this year. They've been really, really impressive. They've made one small minor change going into 2022, and that seems to have made all the difference for this roster. It's put them from a middle of the pack roster to a top of the pack roster, no questions asked.
Yeah, definitely a team that, you know, in the past it was all about Bonotica, wasn't it, ironically? And then they add in their super sub. I think it was Balmoth comes in, and then from there the rest is history, isn't it? What a team throughout this year. And honestly, what a region. You know, Thailand is going to send 3 teams to PGC. Daytrade, Theraton 5, and Buriram United. I mean, that is a significant feat. Vietnam will send 2, obviously, in Cerberus and the Expendables. And then SGD from Malaysia, Jordan. What a fairy tale, I guess. This is a team that obviously has kind of come from nowhere. Didn't play in PCS 6. And they get in on the final game, final day. They're going to PGC. And in some ways, I'm really excited to see Shen on the global stage. That man loves to be aggressive, loves to frag out, led the way really for SGD. A big reason why they got that spot in the end. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do at PGC.
Yeah, I think he and SGD really had a breakout performance this season. I know we've sort of seen Sophia around a little bit before in previous events in the APAC region. But you know, I heard a lot of positive things about SGD going into this season. I hadn't really watched a lot of them myself, but they certainly delivered in that respect, right? They really only did just hang on at the end. I think week 1, absolutely far better for SGD than what we saw in week 2. So if they can figure that out and sort of work on that consistency a little bit, they're going to be a really big threat. And yeah, they do have a lot of individuals on that roster that feel like they can be sort of X-factor players that can come up with the goods when it really matters. And, you know, maybe that's going to be something that bodes well for them going into PGC.
Yeah, massive game. Unfortunately for Team Bliss, 0 points in the final game, Jordan. You can't be going into a match with those kind of stakes and walk away with 0. Obviously, that bridge camp really did screw with their rotate, to put it bluntly, and then they had to try and fight back from there. CJ, 5 kills, and, well, whopping amount of damage. 10-45 to close out final game for AAP. In some ways, it's hard to give them too much plaudits to AAP because it was just, by and large, a tournament that I feel like they were quite flat. They just didn't really ever contest for top 4, top 5 when we've seen them do that in the past. They were 9th after week 1, and week 2 technically was worse because week 2 they finished 10th. Overall, to finish 10th isn't too bad, but this is the team that I kind of had down as contending for a PGC slot and well short of the mark. There's the total leaderboard, of course, for PCS 7. Daytrade end up winning by 8 points. What a result. What a margin. Buriram United, they came, honestly, storming home, especially in the final week. They're at top 5, really big performance, and SGD wrapping up the top 5. And the beauty of it is the top 6 from PCS 7, Jordan, is the 6 that are going to PCS. There is something that is quite pleasing about that. When you've got the 6 that have just recently all performed, all 6 of them going off to PGC.
Yeah, look, all things considered, I think these are probably the best teams that we can send over. You know, I would have liked to have seen Team Bliss there, but even if they would have qualified and managed to make it into 10th place in that last game, the reality is that they were kind of hanging on their results from PCS 6 more so than their results from PCS 7. It's kind of the Buriram scenario from last year, where Buriram won the first PCS event last year and then didn't even play in the second PCS event, if I remember right. and still went through to PGC. And by that stage, we kind of knew that they had really fallen off a little bit. So I do like the fact that the tournaments later on in the year actually are weighted a little bit more. I think it is more valuable the closer you are to the event to actually be getting more points out of it. And it does give you a bit of a better representation of what teams were looking good at this point in time to go through to PGC. So yeah, look, I'm happy with how this has turned out. You know, I actually do think that SGD roster is quite an exciting one. Obviously, the Expendables, they really pop off when they can get things going. And as far as the other 4 teams are concerned, Daytrade, Cerberus, Buriram, and Teraton 5, they've been the consistent 4 this year that we're really happy to see going through. Well, I guess not so much maybe in the case of Buriram, right? They weren't here in PCS 6, but they've always been a really good squad within the APAC region, so it's not a huge surprise to see them going over to PGC as well. So I'm really happy with the 6 we've got.
They were so good for so long, Jordan, for Buriram United, that you could almost let them off for missing out on PCS 6 and having one stage off. There is our, of course, road to PGC all but completed. Our 6 teams, of course, Daytrade as the PCS 7 champion, Cerberus based on the Vietnamese points, and Theratom 5 based on the Thai points, and then Buriram, Expendables, and SGD on PGC points. Obviously, the total leaderboard, by the way, the total points, 95. Yep. 3 teams, Jordan: Unicorn Phoenix, Team Blizz, and SGD. And for those wondering what the tiebreaker is, so it's based on the PCS 7 placing. So who placed higher in PCS 7? Evidently, there's no Unicorn Phoenix, so they didn't place at all. And as we know, SGD finished 5th. Team Blizz finished in 12th. So they placed higher, they win the tiebreaker. It's as simple as that. So hopefully that clears up if anyone's a little confused.
Yeah, indeed. It is nice, though, to see it be so highly contested between those few teams. And, you know, even maybe you look at MS Jonburi, if they would have played last season as well, they could have really been in that discussion. I think Unicorn Phoenix are going to be kicking themselves that they weren't allowed to play this season, because even, like, literally rocking up and coming dead last would have got them enough points to actually go through to PGC, because that would have given them 10 PCS points. And unfortunately, they didn't get the opportunity to do that because they didn't qualify this season. So, yeah, look, end of the day, don't really have anyone to blame but themselves, though they would have really loved to have seen maybe the Cerberus win and Expendables not play quite as well, just to give them that free Vietnamese slot. But not going to be the case this time around, unfortunately.
Yeah, certainly so. And look, I think we've got the best teams that we could send over to PGC from the APAC region. We've got a good mix of representation as well. Thai, Vietnamese, Malaysian as well. So, you know, whereas in the past, it's always been obviously a Thai team, Vietnamese team, Jordan, but it's usually either an OCE team, Philippines team, or now in this case, a Malaysian team. So always APAC spreading the love when it comes to such a diverse region. But when I look at these teams, I almost look at 6 teams that are in form, 6 teams that came storming home for PCS 7. It's hard to really look at any of those and go, are they really playing that well? I look at all 6 and think, yeah, they're all playing really, really well. You could maybe make a case for Theraton 5 on the final day, but even then, 4th, 3rd, 4th, just lacking some of the kills. Other than that, they were perfect really all tournament long, Jordan. So, and obviously, as we know, Expendables, incredible. SGD led by Shen. I will say, I think SGD, as today went on, probably let themselves down a little bit. But as for the tournament as a whole, remember, they were in 2nd place after week 1. They were only 20 points behind Cerberus. So overall, an incredible performance, even from the team that took the last spot. Obviously, for Daytrade, our winners, our champions, back-to-back champions, they take home the lion's share of the prize pool. Kill leader, though, Jordan, starts with a T. Have a guess.
The prize pool for the kill leader starts with a T.
No, the player.
The player.
Like who?
I have no idea. Am I?
Come on, take one guess.
I can't even think. All I'm thinking of is Teraton 5, but I know that's a team. You've put me on the spot here.
It's funny because when you see it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm I guess, waiting for the banners to unfold. I don't really want to spoil it before the banners. Obviously, then you've got the all PCS team. There's our kill leader. It is Tycon. Jordan,
okay.
Come on, how could you forget that?
Look, I was like, it has to be someone from Daytrade, right? And then I was like, no one from Daytrade actually starts with a T, do they? And then the next person I thought of was Trick. And I was like, there's no way Trick from the team that came last is the kill leader. So I'm just trolling at that point. But look, Tycon, he's been a phenomenal player this season. What a great pickup he was for Cerberus. Coming in as a bit of an unknown quantity. You know, I don't think many people really would have expected him to kind of pop off the way that he did. But you have to make the argument that he might have actually been the best player on that roster. And when he was able to even as a solo, get a lot of work done for Cerberus. You sort of back him to get that work done, right? He kind of seemed to be someone that pulled them through a lot of really sticky situations. And if not for Tycon's performance this season, I think they could have, probably dropped down into third.
Well, he's been with the team for quite some time, but underage, now 18. So Tycon pretty much making his presence known globally. I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to provide at PGC. Our all PCS team, Jordan, it's an interesting one. Tycon, Shen, I mean, you really can't go past Shen, can you? He absolutely dominated. Patton Pong from T5, and then Norins from Daytrade. I'm not going to lie, though, I did myself vote for Buriram's Nordra. So I feel like that's one that maybe will feel a little bit hard done by.
I had almost this exact team, except I had Belmoth for Norins. Personally, I felt like Belmoth had a couple more clutch moments. Norins maybe edged him out a little bit just in terms of overall impact, but I sort of gave Belmoth the benefit of the doubt in terms of clutch. But I had Patton Pong, Tycon, and Shen. I think after today, I might agree with you, and I might put Nordra in instead of Patton Pong, but it was by such a slim margin that I'm really happy with that PCS team. And the Insane Squad, SGD, I did vote for them as well, personally. I thought SGD was, again, one of those teams that we didn't really know what we were going to get. So when they perform as well as they do, that's kind of what's going to get my vote over someone like, Daytrade coming second. Like, that's the easy one to, Daytrade or Cerberus getting first or second respectively. You don't vote for the winner, you vote for the second place team. I think that's a bit of a cop-out, so I try to find something a little bit different, and I think SGD a little bit different for me. So yeah, SGD gets the Insane Squad for me, and apparently from a bunch of other people too.
It's interesting because I feel like this has taken a little bit of a leaf out of everyone's book, which is probably how it should go. Like I had Norins instead of Belmoth, and I will say I kind of actually had my Insane Squad as whoever was to finish second between Daytrade or Cerberus. In the end, though, they go with SGD. Hard to really complain about that because this is a team that, by and large has caught a lot of people by surprise. They had a tremendous tournament, an incredible week one. For those that maybe only tuned in mostly to week two, SGD's week 128 points. That was second place. So had they been able to replicate that into week two, they actually would have won the whole thing. It just fell short a little bit in week two. They'll learn from that. They'll grow from that. And I do wonder if maybe the pressure of qualifying may have got to them, because it always does, doesn't it? You look at that final game with Team Bliss, no points from it. You look at SGD, 1 point or 2 points from it. So it's always difficult when there's so much at stake. It's a mental game as much as it is a skillful game. But those are our awards completed here for the awards ceremony. As always, voted on by, I believe, the talent of every single region.
I assume it was us, which included Chunks and Saga as well, I believe. I don't know if they got their votes in, but they were asked, I believe. Obviously, the Thai region and the Vietnamese region both have a broadcast, and I think also the Philippines region has a broadcast that does get to vote in these things too. So probably a bit of that, and also maybe even some PUBG employees or what. I don't know who it all is, but it's kind of like a panel of people
in the background somewhere. Jordan, final thoughts, mate, for PCS 7, arguably one of the more exciting PCS events we've had in a long while.
Yeah, it has been, actually. It's been a really enjoyable season. I much preferred that to PCS 6. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what we're going to get from next year. Still not really sure exactly what that's all going to be, but hopefully we'll get to be involved, and hopefully there's a good future for the APAC region. And I got to say, I wish the best of luck to all of the teams from APAC to go over to PGC and perform well. I want to see them make it through to the final lobby. I want to see them win. That would be a nice little turn of events. But I'll be cheering them on for sure.
Definitely. So, well, congratulations once again to all of our 6 teams that will be representing APAC as a whole, whether you're from Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia. And we'll be cheering as one from this incredible region. Thank you all for so much for tuning in, watching what was arguably the most competitive PCS APAC event we've had. Of course, Americas will be on in a bunch of hours or so, and then from the next 2 weeks, it'll be Europe and Asia. So a lot more PUBG esports to come, of course, before PGC. But in terms of us here from the APAC team as well, from Chunks and Saga, thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time.